Going to go ahead and call this January 5th, 2026 meeting of the Whitefish City Council to order. Thanks everyone for coming this evening. We're also joined remotely via hybrid, via Zoom. But hope everyone had a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the best for 2026. We will start with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask Terry Fury to please lead us tonight. Thank you, Terry. We'll move on to item 3 of our agenda, which is the oath of office and the seating of our incumbent council. I would like to acknowledge all of those who did run for these city positions, and I'd like to also acknowledge the hard work that Giuseppe, you have put in, Ben, and of course Andy, and it's much appreciated. I don't think most people in the public realize how much time and commitment these positions require, in particular, honestly, of city council members who take up the lion's share of the committee appointments in our town, of which we have about 16 or 17 committees. So a big congratulations to all 3 of you. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and I look forward to working with you for 2 more years. And at this moment, I'd also like to specifically acknowledge Andy Fury. It was 20 years ago this month that Andy took the trust in me when Tom Murray stepped down from vacating his 4-year term, and I applied for a city council position, and Andy and the city council at the time appointed me. And it's pretty ironic that it was 20 years ago this month. And you've been a huge mentor of mine, and the work you've done for this city is immeasurable. And I honor you tonight, as well as you, Giuseppe, as well as Ben. But thank you, Andy. Thank you. Yeah. You might be the last one I swear in.
Might be the last
Well,
time I get
tonight,
sworn in.
yeah. And we will start in alphabetical order, and we will begin with Giuseppe. Where would you like to be sworn in, Giuseppe?
Like we did 4 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Giuseppe reminded me that he memorized the oath, but I said it's my one small honor as mayor to repeat the oath. So please repeat after me with your right hand raised, please. I, Giuseppe Caltabiano,
I, Giuseppe Caltabiano,
as a city councilor of the city of Whitefish, Montana,
as a city councilor of the city of Whitefish, Montana,
do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend
do solemnly swear that I support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Montana,
and the Constitution of the state of Montana,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity, so help me God.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity, so help me God.
Congratulations, Giuseppe. Thanks, Ben. I, Ben, please raise your right hand. I, Ben Davis,
I, Ben Davis,
as a city councilor of the city of Whitefish, Montana,
as a city councilor of the city of Whitefish, Montana,
do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend
do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Montana,
the Constitution of the state of Montana,
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity, so help me God.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. So help me God.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, John.
Andy.
Can't believe I'm actually nervous.
Me too.
Oh, good.
Please raise your right hand after me. I, Andy Fury,
I, Andy Fury,
as the City Councilor of the City of Whitefish, Montana,
as the City Councilor of the City of Whitefish, Montana,
do solemnly swear that I will support, pretend, and defect
do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Montana,
Constitution of the State of Montana,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity, so help me God.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity, so help me God.
Congrats, Andy. Well, again, congrats to you all. Again, my privilege to swear you in this evening. We'll move on to item 4, which we have a presentation from Glacier Nordic Club. Excuse me. Absolutely. We now need to move on to the election of the deputy mayor. Very important position.
Mr. Mayor, if he's still willing, because he does such a great job, I would move to nominate Councilor Sweeney, current deputy mayor, as our deputy mayor for the next 2 years.
I'm dying to say, for the sake of, but I'm not going to do it. I'll second it.
And I would just like to say a few words, Frank. Thank you so much. You've been a stellar deputy mayor, assistant. You've filled in when I couldn't due to other personal reasons, and I just appreciate your role as deputy mayor. You've been stellar, and more importantly, your friendship. So I look forward to serving with you for the next 2 years.
Thank you, sir, and I have to say that I'm honored that I have the support of all the members on this council. That means an awful lot to me. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and the motion does carry with a 5-1 vote, with, of course, Councilor Sweeney abstaining,
I did.
if I was correct.
No, I voted.
Oh, you did? So it was unanimous. It was unanimous.
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
No financial gain. Yeah, so. We'll move on to item 4 of our agenda, which is a presentation from the Glacier Nordic Club. I believe Cameron Blake's here to present on the winter operations.
I think it would be
Sorry,
Jenny Bender.
It's Jenny
Excuse
Bender.
me. Sorry.
She could give the same presentation. It's fine. This has been going on for a while, so. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us up here tonight. My name is Jenny Bender. I'm the executive director of Glacier Nordic Club. Cameron Blake was the previous executive director of Glacier Nordic Club, also talked about this project. We are really excited about the progress that we have had in the last, I would say even 6 months, but to year with this capital project. The grooming headquarter facility is huge for our staff and our operations and overall winter recreation. Just as a quick reminder, Glacier Nordic Club has 3 main branches. We have programs for about 250 kids and over 100 adults. We own and operate the Glacier Nordic Shop on the Whitefish Lake Golf Course, and then we groom 65 kilometers consistently over 4 different main venues. And so we have a lot of machinery, a lot of trailers, a lot of gear. Last year we groomed 3,688 miles of trail in the winter, which for not being the best snow year is still pretty, it's a big number. So having this building will be super beneficial to all of our operations and grooming at large for all of our venues. We are in the process. We've gotten through the process of design. We've worked with Montana Creative, A to Z Engineering, TD&H Engineering for plans. Our footprint, we've got a 37 by 66, which includes that additional carport, which we're hoping to put a vehicle in. We're very cognizant of the parking, and we're working with Whitefish Legacy Partners in the city and making sure that it accommodates all of its needs for being at the Big Mountain Trailhead, which is where this will be stationed. The Big Mountain Trailhead for us is extremely important, especially these days where we just got snow on the golf course. So that has been consistently the headquarters or the home base for this project. We are working with the city for finalizing construction and lease agreements. Our goal for start date for this project is this spring, pending financial goals and fundraising. We're working with applying to grants and donors and other operations for funding of this project. We've worked with Legacy Lands Advisory Committee, Steve and Andy, and have gone back and forth quite a lot with Carla and Marie and Angie on this project. And I'm here for any questions if anyone does have any for me, but we just wanted to give an update of where we were at with this project.
Thanks very much, Jenny. Any questions of the Glacier Nordic Club? Rebecca?
I read about that guy that went off the backside and then ended up at that cabin. And so I just wondered, is there any way to have something for emergency response here in case there is an emergency, or is it too close to the mountain to worry about that?
Am I allowed? What's funny is that there is actually a different search and rescue that ended up on the Nordic trails, not a Nordic skier, but we are hoping, part of our discussions is to actually have a public space that will have security cameras and basically a warming hut. The two windows there and the first door to the left would be for members of the community and of Glacier Nordic to go in and change their boots and bring their kids and help get ready and stuff like that as well as part of this building. That's still in discussion though. That is not confirmed. So that kind of just ties in a little bit to what you're saying. From a search and rescue type, is that what you're referring to?
I think people that live here are pretty good with winter safety, but you know, we have a lot of visitors that are not very savvy in the woods or with emergencies, and so I know we have a fire station up on the mountain, but I just thought maybe we should just put them wherever we can, in case, even a phone or, you know.
Yeah, totally. The phone's a good idea. And to be honest, the Nordic trails and what we groom in that area has been a safety place where a lot of people come down and find our groomed trails from the mountain, from going backcountry, and then they're like, oh, I'm somewhere. And then they follow a groomed trail out. So it has benefited many people who have gotten lost from the mountain and gone over and found a groomed trail. But some sort of emergency phone is a great idea. We can talk about that.
Any other questions for Jenny?
I don't have a question, just a comment. Jenny, I just want to congratulate you and your board members for sticking with this project. It's going to be a great benefit to not only the trails up there, but to Nordic skiing here in Whitefish and for Flathead Valley residents as well, because that place is busy. And I hope we get more skiers up there because, and I hope that that people recognize that it's mostly done for skiing. But to answer your question, Rebecca, if people make it to this area, they're right next to the road. So it's not like it's out in the back country somewhere. It's right off of Big Mountain Road. It's gonna be right there at the trailhead. So, but an emergency phone's a good idea. The other thing I just want to say is that this is going to be a great amenity, and I usually in the wintertime I thank Glacier Nordic Club at the end of our meeting, but since you're all here, I'll thank you now for all the hard work you do to even get trails open I got to ski at the golf course a couple times over Christmas break, and it was great for the 2 time. Well, it was really good one time. Next time was a little sloppy, but just with the lack of snow down here in the valley, it's clear that that the facilities need to be up on Big Mountain, and I look forward to getting this thing done, and you just know that you have us as a partner to get this through.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, to your point, Steve, 10 years ago, February 2nd this year is when we adopted the Haskell Basin Conservation Easement formally at the council. And one of the biggest one of the rationales for that project was establishing a Nordic retreat 1,500 feet above town, acknowledging that things are changing in town and the lack of skiing. So I want to also thank Glacier Nordic. You guys have been an incredible partner in kind of seeing that vision through to fruition. So thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're very excited for this, and we're really fighting to keep the trails going up there. And we've been working with the resort, and they've been great with kind of working through some of their changes as well, and trying to keep. We're seeking altitude hardcore these days, so the 40 degrees and rain isn't helping. But yeah, we're excited for what's to come, and phase 2 and 3 is increasing our infrastructure, increasing the trails up there, as well as adding some machinery.
Great. Thanks so much, Jenny.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate your time tonight. We'll move on to item 5, communications from the public. We do have 3 public hearings scheduled for tonight. If you're here to speak to those individual hearings, please wait until I call those hearings, which will be under item number 8 of the agenda. Otherwise, if you have anything to bring to the attention of the council, name and address for the record when you approach the podium, please. Good night, Terry.
Hello. I'm Jan Metzmaker, 915 Dakota Avenue. Happy New Year, counselors. On November 18th, 2019, I came to public hearing, or not a public hearing, I came to public comment, and I presented a report that I compiled about the deer problem in the city. And some of you may remember that because I talked to insurance companies, food bank, repair companies, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Transportation at that point said they were getting 18 to 25 deer kills pulled off the roads in our area a week. And repair shops were getting 5 to 10 cars that had collisions with deer a week. So at that time, the council decided they would create a deer management plan. And I'm wondering, 6 years later, where's the plan? The deer problem is increasing. It's incredibly frustrating where I live. I have 6 deer that live in my yard. Our yard is completely covered with deer poop. All fall, we have deer chasing each other around our house. It's kind of scary to go out there. And I'm wondering, are you waiting till all the deer are killed by cars, or they starve to death, or we get chronic wasting disease, which will be a game changer? So I'm wondering what the status is of any kind of deer management plan. I know that many cities have them. Helen has had one for 15 years. Fort Benton has one. Havre has one. I'd be willing to contact any of these cities that have plans, find out what they're doing, if they work, and present that to you. But I really think it's critical that the problem, and if chronic wasting disease, which is at the dump, if it comes to town, we're going to have a real problem, and we should be more proactive than we are now. Okay. Now, second thing I want to bring up, I was talking with former Mayor Jensen a little while ago, and we were talking about the dark skies ordinance, and that's been around almost 20 years, and it's been very effective. City's done a great job with bringing down the lights. But I think there's a problem now with the proliferation of those strings of high-intensity LED lights. They're not Christmas lights. They're incredibly bright, and they're all over town. And from my house, I can see 3 strings of them, and one of them comes into my living room, and I have to put up shades, and I've also put up a curtain between me and my neighbor because it is intense, and it's very troublesome. According to the light ordinance, you can't see the source of light, and they should be full cutoff, and they shouldn't they shouldn't trespass on person's property. So I would like the council to kind of look at that, this proliferation of these lights. They're really cheap at Costco, but they're really annoying, and unfortunately, most of the problems, you have to complain. And I don't like to complain about my neighbors. But if the city could kind of take a look at the dark skies ordinance, probably be a little more proactive. I know Andy has some other issues that we've talked about with the dark skies ordinance, and make people understand why it was created, what it does, and why it's helpful in our community. I would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, Jan. Further public comment this evening? Toby?
Toby Scott, Whitefish, Montana. I have a couple of items, several of which I have presented to you at least 2 or 3 times before. One is the suggestion to paint the signal boxes. Kalispell has painted all theirs. Bozeman has painted all theirs, and there's quite some artwork on those. And then another item is to install a traffic light at Baker Avenue and 13th Street. I brought that up many times. You guys will encounter the problem there on occasion, but sometimes summer or winter, traffic can be backed up Baker Avenue all the way to the post office. It's a pain in the butt. You know, for those of us that know, we can just go up 6th and take O'Brien and come out. Oh, sorry. Never mind that. Let's see, I got my glasses here for the rest of it. Also to add EV charging stations for cars around. I'm seeing there's a lot of them in town. Teslas, Rivians, other companies, they're all making sure that that we can run on electricity, but I presume they all have chargers at home. But nevertheless, for those people from out of town that come in, they're staying at a hotel, it'd be nice to have chargers. And speaking of EV chargers, several months ago, I parked my hybrid vehicle in a parking spot right outside the back door here, because the city parking area has 2 EV charging spots. And this was at about 5:30 or so, and I thought, this will be fine. It happened I went out a little bit later, and I either saw the officer or found a warning on my car that this is leased parking, you can't park there. And I said, what? So that means that you have to own an EV and a leased spot in order to charge your car there. It doesn't seem right. And so I would like to see the city council or perhaps the city manager or someone investigate this to find out, why do you have to lease a spot in order to charge your car? At least those 2 spots should be given just a extended parking, you know, you can park there for 2 hours or whatever, something like that. That's all. It looks like that's new news to some of you.
I normally don't comment on comments, Toby, as you know, but I believe, and Dana, correct me if I'm wrong, that the lease parking is only valid through 5 p.m. Monday through Sunday.
It's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through
6
Friday.
to 6.
And
yeah,
those
so-
EV charging stations do not have a mechanism for us to charge per hour of charging. So it's the mechanism of recouping some of the costs. But between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Every night and on weekends, you can charge for free.
Okay.
Well, this was the case when I was headed to a council meeting or one of my other meetings, and I pulled in at
Yep.
5:30 or something like that. And as far as the time requirements, I wasn't considering charging. I'm just time requirements like out on the street. You know, you can work here for 2 hours or here for 3. Thank you.
Thanks, Toby. Further public comments this evening?
Hi, Happy New Year. My name is Mary Beth Morand. I live at 604 Geddes Avenue in Whitefish. I'm also the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Flathead Valley. I'm commenting tonight because Habitat Flathead's construction capacity currently exceeds the land we have available to build on. Habitat for Humanity of Flathead Valley respectfully requests to be considered for the construction of the 22 townhomes on the snow lot. Habitat Flathead proposes using the same model that we're using in Columbia Falls on the 6 homes on the railroad property, where the land is transferred to the Community Land Trust, who has the first right of refusal on these units when they come up for resale after Habitat homeowners vacate them. Habitat Flathead has reviewed all of the construction drawings for Depot Park or the snow lot in great detail. And we are confident that we can build these units close to plan for under $350,000 per unit. If the city of Whitefish would consider slight modifications to the plans that would reduce the price while maintaining the overall aesthetics that are presented in current drawings, Habitat Flathead has calculated that we could build these units between $250,000 and $300,000 each. We have some drawings to share with you and a formal letter requesting to submit a proposal to you. Habitat Flathead proposes to work with the city of Whitefish to determine how many of these 22 units would be dedicated to households between 30 to 80% of the AMI, which is the demographic that we serve, and then how many would be above that. The units that would be below 80% would be constructed by Habitat staff, our volunteers, and the homeowners that have been selected for those units, because as you know, we always do sweat equity. And those units would be eligible for the 2% 30-year mortgages that we get through the Montana Board of Housing. Units above 80% would be constructed by our private sector construction partner, Iron Star Construction, per our proposal, and we already have a memo of understanding signed with them. I think what's really important in this request for a proposal, to submit a proposal to you, is knowing that Iron Star could begin construction in this spring, 2026, and Habitat Flathead could start later in the summer of 26. Iron Star projects the completion of their units probably by January 2027, and then Habitat Flathead would probably complete by December of 2027. So I think there are many positive aspects to Habitat Flathead working on this project on the snow lot. It's a great opportunity for volunteerism within the community, for all the people who have approached and talked a lot about affordable housing. They could actually get involved with us in building these units. It's also a way to engage the community, the vendors in the community, the churches, the restaurants who could provide lunches for our volunteers. It's just an excellent outreach opportunity for everyone. And I'd also like to remind the council that Habitat Flathead really benefits from some very deep discounts and in-kind donations from the construction supply companies in this community. Moreover, this mixed AMI project allows us to execute a model that we have recently conceived where we co-build with private sector builders. I'm here joined by Garrett Robertson, our construction manager, who can talk about what would make these units more affordable without changing the aesthetic and the viability of this timeline. Cameron Blake is here, and she can also speak to our new model that allows us to work above the 80% AMI and work with private sector builders. And Kisa Davison, the owner of Iron Star Construction, is here and can also speak to what can be provided by Iron Star in this cooperation with Habitat for Humanity of Flathead Valley. I'd like to present you a letter asking for consideration of a proposal from us, and also some drawings of the original drawings from Encompass that you've approved, and then drawings from Habitat for Humanity, about the modifications we would make. And you can see that they're nearly identical, but some of these modifications would bring down the price drastically.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Garrett Robertson. I'm the construction manager for Habitat for Humanity. I'll just speak to a few things. We've been doing affordable housing for many decades now at Habitat Flathead, and I think it's something that we do very well. Right now, as Mary Beth mentioned, we're at a point where our capacity has grown. Kudos to Mary Beth. Since she's become our executive director, the last 2 years we've really scaled up. We're very excited about actually doing something about affordable housing and keeping up with, to some extent, the demand that's needed as the demand also increases. For us, obviously, one of the biggest things is our volunteerism. And I think we have a really good track record of also designing homes that are not only good for volunteers to build, but just affordable in every aspect of the word. And so, yeah, I would just encourage you to, look at what we have there. That's by no means a fully fleshed out design, but there are a lot of very, what I would call minor modifications that can be made generally that bring down costs while also not, just building a big square box with no windows. So I think there's definitely a middle ground that everybody can probably be happy with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cameron?
Cameron Blake, 825 Lexan Trail, Whitefish. And as long as I'm here to speak on behalf of Habitat, I have to do a plug for the storage barn. And I just want to, I've got my representatives, I still came off the course at Glacier Nordic, but I wanted to add to what Jenny said, that Glacier Nordic has 1,100, 1,200 members a year. And that's families too, so really serve like 3,000 skiers out there. I mean, it's an incredible number when you look at how many people in this community and the surrounding community ski, and it's serving that community, as you guys pointed out, lack of snow down low. We need that up there, so thank you on that. In terms of Habitat, been working on a fund model that for mixed income neighborhoods, where we could go in and develop, Habitat develops a portion, as Mary Beth said, looking to private sector builders like Kisa, who would develop at the 80 to 150% AMI that the city of Whitefish is looking for. At those lower Habitat numbers, there's super advantageous mortgage financing available. And then when you move above 80%, still looking at assisting buyers, and helping them out. There's down payment assistance. The big hurdles right now to homeownership are coming up with that 20% down payment to avoid private mortgage insurance. So with some down payment assistance and potentially lower price mortgages, maybe we're talking 1% or 2% below market, can really increase affordability for people. And that's all possible looking at this model. Of course, local workforce is served with the down payment assistance, both with Habitat and with other down payment assistance that's been used around Montana. There's also homeowner education. Habitat has a great mentorship program for new homeowners, teaching them how to take care of their property, how to be good neighbors. And there's also, with most down payment assistance programs, there's also a required homeowner education and finance education in advance of that, which really helps people manage their finances going forward in the house. As Mary Beth mentioned, the vendor discounts allow Habitat to build really, I think, below anything I've seen in the market, because they're a nonprofit and can receive those. So just wanted to add that as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron.
Hi, my name is Kisa Davison, and I'm the owner of Iron Star Construction in Kalispell. I won't take much of your time, but I do want to reassure you that my team has looked at the plans that you've provided or that have been approved, although they were a few years ago, and we feel very confident that we can come in at very reasonable numbers. I don't know necessarily where the value engineering, I've looked at the value engineering that Garrett has come up with, and I think certainly there's quite a bit that can be done. Where you as a city want to make some of those concessions, that's a conversation I'm really excited to be able to have. So that how this could happen, We have a team, a machine that's already in place. We are a production builder. We build 20 to 30 homes a year. We don't build in the very, very high end, so we've been able to afford a lot of efficiencies in our systems, our processes, and the relationships that we have with subcontractors and suppliers. This can easily be extended to this project here in Whitefish. We are ready to mobilize. We've got several projects that, due to some delays, won't be starting until now mid to end of summer. So being able to begin a project like this late spring would certainly work into our schedule quite well. And then obviously there is some urgency on your part that I'm pushing you to make some decisions and approve so that we can have those conversations and get some of that pricing locked down. And then the why is probably the most important part. You all are in a really, really unique position that you have this piece of property, you have nonprofit and land trust willing partners, and now a private sector willing partner to really do more and do different than has ever been done before. The fund that Cameron was speaking to is a project that we've all been working on for nearly a year now, and I think that's a testament to how, as a community, we are all committed to making sure that people not only have homes, but they have homes that they can own and homes that they can be proud of, and an opportunity to participate in their community beyond just working and paying rent. So I encourage any questions at this time, and I look forward to what the future holds. Thank you.
Thanks, Kisa. Any questions? Giuseppe?
Just a quick one. First of all, a comment. I'm very pleased to see this team put together. I do not know if the staff has been involved in that. I reserve that for comments at the end of the meeting. My question is, knowing how normally Habitat operates, there is a vested skin in the game by the future owner of the dwelling. Will that apply here too, meaning when we volunteer, we work with the future owners who are there putting nails and framing stuff. So if that moved forward, the model is still the same?
Yes, you're speaking to our sweat equity requirement, and this is why we would need to identify within the next few months, if these were to become Habitat homes, we'd have to put them up for application. Like, we're currently taking applications for 6 homes that will break ground on come April in Columbia Falls. And we identify the homeowners in advance so that they can do their sweat equity requirement, which is a minimum of 275 hours. But truly, it's a day a week until they close on that house, which is, by the way, a great community builder, especially when you have 22 units and you have people building their houses together and each other's houses.
Further questions? Thanks very much for the public comment tonight. We'll take your comments into due consideration for sure. Any additional public comments? Rhonda?
So I have twofold comments as well. One is the Nordic house for the track sitter. That is, we've come a long way, baby, from 10 kilometers on the golf course 40 years ago. So this is so exciting to see. And the trails, the amount of trails these guys are grooming and the quality of the grooming and the size of the program is just so heartwarming to see something that's completely come out of the community. So I hope that you guys can support this in any way that you can, because it's wonderful. And then on the snow lot, I was on the original snow lot task force, and we spent quite a bit of time keeping the neighborhood engaged with this process so that they were comfortable with it. And there were a number of design charrettes. And so I think that having all these puzzle pieces come together and make this a possibility is so exciting. I do think you need to be very cautious about design changes. I'm all for value engineering, but don't change what the neighborhood is comfortable with, because it was a slog to get there. And I think it's really important to honor that participation from the neighbors. And having ownership opportunities is the hardest thing we're going to do in our community, and it's the most important. So I say strike while the iron's hot, grab these guys, don't let them loose, and let's get those things built, because it's been 10 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Mary?
Good evening. Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. A lot of good presentations for you tonight. Hope I can add to that. I want to speak to you on two items regarding the lakeshore protection regulations. I think we've brought to you before that on January 14th, sorry on that, the county is hosting a planning board workshop where they are taking suggestions for improvements that need to be made to the Flathead County Lakeshore Protection regulations. There are 59 lakes over 20 acres in Flathead County, which just blows me away every time I say that, because I had no idea that there were that many lakes. I believe Whitefish is the only one that has a Lakeshore Protection Committee. And unfortunately, you don't have that lake-wide. It would be nice to see collaboration in that regard between you and the county. We will be going to that meeting, and we'll be sharing with the public here shortly a series of improvements that we think need to be made to these regulations. One of which is something that you do within your regulations, which is to require a registered surveyor to mark the lakeshore protection area before activity moves forward. That's not happening in the county on county-covered lakes. And one of the issues right now with the property on Whitefish Lake, where there was a blast that unfortunately went into the lake itself, there has not been a survey done, even though after the fact the county realized they needed a survey to kind of identify how that had shifted the lakeshore protection zone. They need to have it in their regulations, not only for when accidents like that happen, but so that the public is really aware of the ways that they can do it right, and really have that area marked out. So the second item, in addition to that January 14th meeting, which is at the County Planning Office in Kalispell, 6 p.m., it's the only item on the agenda, and so it's ripe for having recommendations come in. We just learned, to our surprise, on New Year's Eve, that the county has scheduled tomorrow morning a series of approvals of lakeshore permits. They do this periodically. It's amazing how many come through the county's office. But this one tomorrow has the property that was subject to the blast on that agenda for approval. And we are concerned, and we've asked our attorneys to represent us in presenting comments on this issue, because the county has been saying for 3 months that they need to have a survey. There's been no survey, and yet they're proposing to move forward. It's an after-the-fact permit, which is asking to permit the artificial concrete and stone structures that have been built that are not allowed under the lakeshore permit, county lakeshore permit system as we understand it. There has not been a public hearing, and the regulations say when there is going to be a significant activity in that affects the lakeshore zone, there should be a planning board hearing that allows the public to come forward and to raise issues and concerns about a particular piece of property and the uniques, whether it's the wave dynamic or whatever is happening. The county does not do that. In fact, almost always just moves towards issuing a permit. We do not believe that the permit coming up tomorrow, which is an after-the-fact permit, is legal under the regulations. And so there are a lot of issues that you have on your agenda tonight, a letter that was drafted without the knowledge of this meeting coming up tomorrow. So I'm hoping that you will consider some of the issues and to ask the county to table this particular permit until there's more information, and so that we can make sure that restoration and corrections are done properly. And it also becomes a way to let the public know that there is a process that should be followed, and we have a large responsibility, I think, to educate the public on how to do it right, and to really showcase properties who are doing it right. And so my final point is that I think it would be, we would be very interested in working with the city and your Lakeshore Protection Committee and staff to identify properties that have really done a good job on protecting this zone. It's only 20 feet, and we know that the science says you need even more than that to really be protective of a lot of the resources. But at 20 feet, we ought to be pulling out all the stops to make sure that we're complying with these regulations. So I hope as you look at your letter tonight, you would consider adding something for the county for their meeting tomorrow. And as you know, the county has a section on their agenda at 8:45 where any member of the public can come in, or city, and come in and comment on an item under the jurisdiction of the county. This item itself comes up at 10:15 on the county agenda, and there is no public comment during that portion of the meeting. I'll be here to answer questions if you need questions later on.
Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Richard.
Honorable Mayor, Councilors, Richard Hildner, 104 Fifth Street. Happy New Year. I know you're expecting me to expound on fire, wildfire, but not tonight. I know that you have a very busy schedule coming up over the next several months, dealing with planning and planning issues, and I appreciate all of your and all of the staff's dedication to our city. But tonight, I want to encourage you to move forward as expeditiously as you possibly can on the report for consideration to revise an ordinance, and that's Title VI that Chief Kelch presented to you on September 18th of 2025 with regards to non-motorized and some, depending upon how you define motors, e-bikes, golf carts, and that sort of thing. The reason that I bring it up now is because on December 12th, The Week magazine had an article on Innovation of the Week, and this is a two-wheeled, battery-powered bike. That is just one of those little tiny bikes that we all tried to build on our own with gasoline motors, but these are battery-powered and are designed with the same technology as motorized skateboards. And as a result, these things can go for up to 50 hours, and with their gyroscopes, the operators can pop a wheelie for a considerable amount of time through our bike paths. And I want to share with you, there's enough for everyone that has one, and the picture of the three ladies on a single bicycle, e-bike, was taken right after the chief made that presentation to you. as I walked back home again. I think it'll be instructive if you look at that and then also take a look at what Columbia Falls has done with their e-bike issue. And then there is an article in the New York Times that I've referenced there as well that acknowledges the accidents and safety legislation that communities in California are taking a look at. So again, I encourage you to take head on the issue of these motorized electronic vehicles, but also at the same time encourage in the development of the ordinance that you are respectful and consider those who are mobility impaired. Thank you. And have a great year.
Thanks, Richard.
It'll be fun.
Hello, Keegan Siebenaller here, 306 Lupfer Avenue, and I'm speaking tonight as the Executive Director of Shelter WF. So I'm here to talk about those items that are on your agenda to revise the 2025 Housing Needs Assessment. I don't want to reiterate all the written comments that I made. I do just want to give you a little bit of insight into our motivation for bringing this to you, as well as kind of the specific requests that we have for City Council. So after the Housing Needs Assessment came out a few months ago, we began to hear a common narrative develop around housing and in a lot of these committee meetings. And that narrative basically says that Whitefish has been building enough units every year. We don't need to increase supply. We just need more subsidized units. Shelter WF exists as a nonprofit because we believe that to be false, both based on kind of the economic reality of Whitefish, but also, those conversations we have every day with renters that kind of prove that the status quo amount of housing we've been building has led to a significant shortage. Our membership believes that there's a significant shortage of both market rate and subsidized housing in Whitefish, and that we can't find solutions through the growth policy process without acknowledging this. Housing needs stats that stop in 2019 and population projections that are based on pre-pandemic numbers just don't meet that moment. This is why I was heartened to see the memo from the consultants that acknowledged that the city should adopt higher numbers. I want to quote the key part of that memo, which states, integrating a scenario that captures a higher inflow of population in line with the 3.9% growth of the last 5 years is a viable option for understanding potential needs. Preparing for this higher growth scenario is of value to the city and could be integrated into the needs assessment as an additional finding. So that's the motivation for coming to you here today, and it's also a request that the city adopts either as an amendment or an additional finding to the housing needs assessment, these revised numbers that are more in line with reality. We think that's really important not only to counter that narrative, but also because the housing needs assessment is the data that the housing element, the land use plan, and the upcoming zoning changes are all targeting. I think there's regulatory reforms that make sense if we have a housing needs assessment that says we need 300 to 400 homes a year, but might not make sense under the current housing needs assessment, which says we need between 100 and 150. So we think it's really critically important to just get those numbers right. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much for your comments. Further public comment tonight? Scott and then Z. And we're going to move on.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Scott Worster, 222 Montana Avenue. I would appreciate hearing some discussion tonight at the appropriate time about what the current status of the O'Shaughnessy property is there at the corner of Edgewood and Wisconsin. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, I'm Mac, 6005 St. Lawrence Drive. I would also just like to speak in favor of the Shelter WF revised housing needs assessment. I think they raise a lot of good points, and it's kind of a little bit different than just the status quo that has been kind of the narrative so far. And I also just of the mindset where if we at least give the opportunity or the availability, and what's the best way to say it? Sorry, I hate public speaking. Just the option to build more housing, right? It doesn't mean it has to be built, but it's just like, okay, let's open up the potential to do so. So I just wanted to voice my support in that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mac. Appreciate it. Further public comment this evening?
For the record, Z418 East 2nd Street. Good news, everyone. I will not be providing yet another fruitless public comment calling out the council for their refusal to support our LGBTQIA+ youth. Instead, I will be playing the audio from the body cam footage of former Whitefish Police Department officer Michael Hingus's traffic stop of Becer Rengifo del Castillo. Isn't it ironic that some moments ago, Giuseppe, Ben, and Andy swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States that they are being sued for violating? Let's begin. If the technology cooperates, that is. Thank you for your indulgence. As we get underway, it's silent, and then once Officer Hingus exits his vehicle, then we'll get the audio.
Mr. Mayor, could I just interrupt for 1 second? I'm not sure if showing a poster of our police department in arm with people in white hoods violates our rules for civil dialogue or not, but it sure feels like it does to me.
And I second that.
Really? You're going there? We're talking about violating rules of civil dialogue?
Civil dialogue, yes. Showing our police with in arm with someone in a hood, a KKK hood.
Yeah, as in racial profiling, as in you're being sued for racial I don't think you need, we don't need to go into a back and, you don't need to.
I'm going to call this discussion off because we're currently in litigation and we're not.
Right, that's why I'm not asking for any.
Litigation, so if you don't mind putting the poster down, thank you for bringing it and continue with your comments.
Okay, so just the poster itself.
Put the poster down, and I would appreciate if you do not play the audio.
You'd appreciate it? I would appreciate it if you didn't violate Becer's constitutional rights, but here we are, okay? So I'd like you to cite for me specifically how you're gonna stop my public comment. Show me in your policies.
I'm not, I asked.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. You know what? If Becer would have been given the same courtesy, we would not be here. So thank you for asking. Unbelievable. So I'll turn the poster, okay? It's a sign, by the way, not a poster. But here we go. Wow. Steve, you're really, really bold on podcasts. Okay, here we go. Again, gross. Trying again. This is really for the edification of the community, the ones that are going to have to pay the price when you lose your lawsuit. Technology not cooperating. Okay, here we go. Well, I'll just, while I'm trying to do this, okay, I will just remind everybody that it was within 2 minutes of the initial interaction. That's why the volume was off. Sorry, all. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Better that you hear it so you don't take my word for it. Sorry. Technology does not want to cooperate as I give my public comment. Try one more time. Thank you for your indulgence. Okay, here we go. That should work now.
Insurance and registration for the car?
Okay, hold on a sec. I really want you to hear the initial so you can hear. There we go.
Hello, Officer Angus, Whitefish Police. He's on stop. He's got a brake light out. Okay, do you have a driver's license?
Sorry. Do you have a driver's license, which then he produced?
All right, do you have insurance and registration for the car? Registration, that one. Perfect. I'll be right back with you, all right? Hang tight.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, this is Officer Angus with Whitefish Police Department. Just out with the mail that only speaks Spanish. Wondering if you want to check in.
Okay, we'll pause there. That was 2 minutes. Not quite. A few seconds short of 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Calling Border Patrol, and as we all heard, got someone here who only speaks Spanish. You might want to come check him out. Sounds like racial profiling to me. We'll see what the jury decides. Let's continue. There's no volume after this, so there's nothing to listen to, and I'm really not going to force the audience to sit through this, okay? But just know that it took another 12 minutes. Perhaps Deputy Chief Conway, you could do a demonstration on how long it takes to issue an e-citation. Now, I haven't gotten one, thank goodness, in a long time, but I have friends that have, and it didn't take them that long to receive their e-citation. I wonder why it took that long for Officer Hingis to get that citation printed. Perhaps it was because that was how long it took for Border Patrol to show up on the scene and take custody of Becaire. Perhaps reasonable people can decide. Don't take my word for it. This is available thanks to the local reporting. Thank you, local journalism. Support your local journalists. The Daily Interlake and the Daily Interlake released the body cam footage. Don't take my word for it. Play it for yourself. Set a timer and ask yourself, as Becaire sat there after handing over his documentation and waited and waited and waited for either to get a ticket or the cite or the warning or whatever it was, what might have been going through his mind. He was here legally, people. This is wrong. Everyone should be outraged. You're not, but you need to be. Maybe you'll be outraged when the city loses or settles and your taxes go up. I don't know. It's wrong, and it's just wrong, and remind you, Officer Hingis is no longer with the city. Wonder why, coinky dink. The chief is being sued as well, and the city council is being sued. Keep that in mind as you're all proud of yourselves for all the wonderful accomplishments that you do. That's all. Constitution my ass. Thank you. That's it.
Further public comment this evening? Michelle, anyone online?
For those attending online, if you would like to address the council for anything that is not advertised as a public hearing on the agenda, please raise your hand. We're good.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and close the communications from the public portion of this agenda and move on to volunteer boards. You do have a letter enclosed from our city planner to the county commissioners regarding the Lakeshore Protection Committee. And I think we approved this at our meeting a few weeks ago. Any motion required on this, Dana, or just showing of hands to support the letter submittal?
A showing of hands would be great.
Yep, showing of hands. And that's unanimous. You also have a letter from Kelly from the Whitefish Community Library Board of Trustees to appoint a trustee in training. Kelly, anything to comment if you're here tonight? Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Mayor Mulfield and council members, my name is Kelly Pepmeyer. I am the current chair for the Whitefish Community Library Board of Trustees. On behalf of the Whitefish Community Board, I submitted a detailed letter of application for our open trustee in training position, as well as the applicant's letter of interest. We, the board, recommend that Dr. Moira McKinnon Linham be appointed to that position based on her skills and previous board experience. We believe she would be an excellent addition to our board. That's all.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to that effect, please.
I move to appoint Moira McKinnon.
And I second it.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Giuseppe. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously. You have enclosed in the packet the consent agenda for December 1st and December 15th. Can I have a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Rebecca?
I just have one correction, which was on the minutes for December 1st. I was present at that meeting, and I wasn't absent. Michelle already knows this.
I will accept the amendment.
Thank you, Giuseppe. All those in favor of the motion as amended, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously. Which brings us on to our first public hearing tonight, which is item 8A.
Point of order?
Yes, sir.
Don't we have communications from the boards?
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Any volunteer board reports this evening? Toby, apologies.
Toby Scott, Whitefish, Montana, Chairman of the Lakeshore Protection Committee. I thought you were going to skip me over with that brief approval of the letter.
Never.
I'll send you the bill, Toby.
Excuse me. I just wanted to bring to your attention the letter which you have approved. It's been consolidated regarding the 2 violations that the county is overlooking on our lake. And Mayor Flowers mentioned a planning board in the county on the 14th, of which I do plan on going to that as either an independent citizen or a representative of Whitefish to try and encourage them to develop some sort of interlocal agreement. And beyond that, I'm also continuing our city's quest to take control over the county portion of the lake through an amendment to the state regulations, which was brought before the committee and the Senate. I think it was Senate Bill 304, which was going to expand our thing, but it unfortunately failed in committee, I believe. But we're going to try and rephrase that, and just want to let you know that we're doing our best to maintain the entire Whitefish Lake shore all the way around, including the county. So that was my thought.
Thanks, Toby.
Okay.
Thanks for all you're doing. Any additional volunteer board reports from the audience or the council? Giuseppe.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this morning the Bicycle Pedestrian Path Committee met, and pretty much the whole meeting was discussing and supporting the finally drafted ordinance by the police department. And I wanted to reassure our audience that there are vehicles that are pushed by human power and vehicles that are pushed by other stuff. And then there is mobility aiding. We're not discriminating between internal combustion and electricity or solar power. So the ordinance is much cleaner, so environmentally friendly. And I was asked to report that the committee supports that draft unanimously.
Great, thanks Giuseppe. Appreciate that update. Additional board reports. Not seeing any, we will move on to our public hearings. And we'll start with item 8A, a request from the Whitefish School District for a conditional use permit to develop an expansion of academic and athletic facilities located at 1143 East 4th Street, zoned WR, which is our one family residential district. Thanks for your report tonight.
Good evening. Alrighty, so I have this request for a conditional use permit to construct a 2-story academic extension to the existing Whitefish High School and to redevelop the associated athletic facilities. This is a request for a conditional use permit because in the WR1 zoning district, we require CUP for schools that are K through 12. The site is currently developed as the existing high school, as well as there's parks to the north, residential to the south, east, and west, all surrounding the school. The proposed development complies with our regulations. This includes setbacks, height requirements, lot coverage, off-street parking will be maintained. Building orientation will be met, as well as bicycle and pedestrian standards. The proposed application effectively addresses parking locations and layout, as well as traffic circulation, open space, fencing and screening along the athletic facilities, as well as landscaping that will be implemented into the project. There is going to be adequate stormwater drainage. Currently, they're going to be updating their facilities. There's 2 that address stormwater drainage. This new proposed project will have 3 drainage facilities where it's kind of more effectively sending the appropriate water to the different facilities instead of kind of overloading one or another. The neighborhood will have minimal impact. Traffic will generally stay the same. Noise and vibration will only be anticipated during construction. That goes for dust, smoke, glare, and heat as well. The hours of operation will remain the same, as well as the sports fields will remain its current use schedule as what's used at Memorial Park. with playoff games being subject to scheduling outside of those usual hours. The community character will be maintained. They're going to keep the new additions similar and alike to the existing high school. At the December 18th public hearing, we did receive one public comment about parking, lighting, and traffic flow. Shane and Brandon, the applicants, were able to address these concerns. The Planning Commission unanimously voted to approve the request, adopting the staff report as well as the conditions of approval. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions for Lauren? Not seeing any. Thanks very much for the staff report. We did advertise and we'll hold a public hearing for item 8A. Any public comment this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Brandon Tice with Civil Solutions. I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the CUP for the Whitefish High School project. I'll give you just a quick narrative. The staff report covers everything quite well, though. It's two projects, basically two different bonds, athletics and academics. New track and field for the athletics portion with a concession building and a bathroom building. And then we'll have about a bleacher set up with about 1,500 seats in it. Pretty nice facility. We'll also have a practice field just south of that also on the same site. We're going to put a stormwater pond also on the athletic side, the east side of the site, that will collect stormwater and treat it. It's got some sediment storage in it. It will be picking up roof runoff from the actual school and the landscaped areas of the athletics portion. So we're not sending any parking lot water to that pond, which will ultimately be flow controlled and then released to Cow Creek. 4th Street, we're looking at putting in a new sidewalk along the city right away, the 4th Street, to make a vital connection there. That's in your Safe Streets for All plan, I believe. And that'll have about a 4-foot wide boulevard. It's kind of all that we can fit in there, but we're gonna get a sidewalk in there for the city and for the residents in that area. Switching to the other bond to the west, the academics, where we're adding on to the building, a 2-story structure on the Pine side of the street. New parking lot will also go in where that loop is right now. We're actually gonna put in a proper parking lot there now. Altogether, we're going to be providing about, 388 parking stalls. So it's 20 more than what's currently there right now. So we're doing a lot of moving and shifting on the site to try and increase pedestrian safety, increase traffic flow, some like one-way angled parking type situations, so we don't have like two-way traffic, kind of herding the cats, I guess, for lack of a better term. And the parking lot will also, doesn't need any flow control, but it'll have a treatment device in it to treat the stormwater before we send it to Pine Avenue, which also ultimately goes to Cow Creek. That's about it. If you have any questions at all about what's in front of you guys tonight, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thanks, Brandon. Any questions for Brandon?
Not a question, just a comment. I think Illinois State just tied up the game. Sorry.
What's that?
To you. Illinois State just tied up the game.
Yeah, it's 28-28. Yeah. It's we're nervous. Thank you.
I couldn't tell. Thanks, Brandon. Any public comment this evening on this item? Is it related to this? Yes, please. Yeah, just approach the. It's just a question. Of course.
Where is the stormwater drain? The collection for stormwater, you said that it was
Onto Park Avenue and then ultimately through an interceptor down to Cow Creek.
Park Avenue? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So on the east side of the school, on the back side of the school? I don't know.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the name of the street that it's close to?
Park.
Park. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Further public comment? I'm going to go ahead unless there's anyone online, Michelle.
For those of you who are attending online, if you'd like to address the council, please unmute your mic and state your name and address, please. We're good.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to Rebecca for a motion.
I move to approve WCUP 25-13, the findings of fact in the staff report and recommended 11 conditions of approval as recommended by the Whitefish Planning Commission on December 18th, 2025.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Sweeney. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously, which brings us on to item 8B, consideration of request from Little Bear Developments, number 4 LLC for a CUP to add a beer and wine liquor license to expand sales at Bonsai Brewery located at 549 Wisconsin Avenue, and the property is zoned WB1. Dave.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, Little Bear LLC has applied to expand the operations at the Bonsai Brewery at 549 Wisconsin and 635 Denver to a full beer and wine license. Right now, they just have a brewery permit. They've had a couple of conditional use permits over the years. The initial one when they operated the mall, then 2 more at that location when they initially put it in, and then when they expanded the facility, they came in for an additional conditional use permit. And then adding this beer and wine license is something that our code requires, unless it's a restaurant beer wine, and this is a full beer and wine. So they'll have the ability now to serve wine there as well as stay open till 11 p.m. No other changes to the facility are being proposed. That site's 1.5 acres. On the north, there's professional offices. To the west, there's a restaurant and a bar. To the south is their parking and a bed and breakfast, and then to the east, a professional office. It's currently zoned WB1, which is our limited business district. We put out a public notice. All properties within 300 feet. We did receive 3 written emails, 2 supporting the CUP and 1 with concerns about outdoor noise at night and proximity to the bike path. In reviewing a conditional use permit, there's certain criteria that are required to go through. Is it comply with the growth policy? And this particular use does comply. It's consistent with our zoning of neighborhood commercial, zone WB1. Is it compliant with the regulations? There are no proposed changes to the footprint of the existing buildings. It does comply with our zoning regulations. All standards are being met. It is an existing facility. As far as site suitability goes, it has suitable access. That's not being changed. All the other standards are being met. There's no environmental concerns. As far as quality and functionality, they're not proposing to change the existing parking lot. Staff is adding a condition that they restripe it since the stripes on that lot are somewhat faded. And we do have requirements for ADA spaces now in our code, so we need to show those 2 of those delineated. Fencing and screening, it does have an existing privacy fence between the facility and the bed and breakfast to the south, and a split rail fence along Wisconsin Avenue. So the quality and functionality, again, it's an existing site that's not being modified, and no changes are being proposed, and it does adequately meet those requirements. There's existing public services available, water and sewer, et cetera, to the site since it's existing condition. We don't anticipate substantial traffic generation for the additional 2 hours that they might be open in the summertime. As far as noise and vibration, they do plan on occasionally having live music at that facility. The city noise ordinance prohibits outdoor live music after 10 p.m. They plan on complying with that. All other similar types of facilities within the city have that same limitation that have outdoor music. They are allowed to do it until 10 p.m. Brewing beer does have a slight odor of roasting cereal grain, but that it shouldn't affect anyone. And again, their hours of operations, they're proposing 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the winter and 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the summer. They might close at 10 at certain times of the year. The applicant can elaborate on that, but we don't anticipate that project to have any negative impacts on that neighborhood. It's compatible with existing uses. It's an established business, and staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit subject to 8 conditions. To highlight some of the unusual ones, if they do propose any changes to the interior that requires a building permit, obviously they'd have to get that. And any changes to the exterior, they would have to go through our review process with architectural review. Again, I mentioned striping the parking lot because 2 handicap spaces are required for parking lots of 25 to 50 spaces. We did put a condition that outdoor live music shall not occur past 10 p.m. That is currently in our noise ordinance, but it's just a reminder. And then they also are subject still to the conditions of their previously approved conditional use permits that they had in the past. This did go to our planning commission on December 18th. Following a public hearing, only the applicant spoke, and the planning commission unanimously recommended approval. I'd be glad to answer any conditions that you guys, or any questions that you guys might have.
Thanks, Dave. Any questions for Dave on his staff report? Steve?
I just have a quick question. Since they're going from just a brewery license where they would close down at 8 when it's still light in the summertime to something that could keep them open till 10 or 11, does it make sense to require them to have signs that say beer can't leave the premises? You know, can't take anything off the premises. I know that we don't have those signs necessarily in town, but it might be something that feels different because most of their seating is outdoors there. Did that come up in discussions at all?
The state regulates that. I mean, the police sometimes require a sign saying, I mean, obviously people can buy a growler full of beer and leave the premises with a growler. So, but, I guess that's something that, I mean, typically you see that regulated
I was just wondering if
through
it
other
came
means.
up at all. That's fine. Thank you.
Additional questions for Dave? Not seeing any. We did advertise for a public hearing on item 8B of our agenda. Any public comments? And I'll take the applicant's representative or applicant first.
Hi guys, Daniel Wright, 28 Fairway View, Whitefish. Firstly, Happy New Year to you all. Thank you to City Council members and planning staff for putting Bonsai on the agenda today. We took over Bonsai, the operation of it at the end of June. Just been running the business for 5 months, pretty challenging business. Food and beverage industry is very hard work. And it never seems to get easier. We intend to keep Bonsai running in the same vein that Keeler and Graham did, as a community focal point where people can come and enjoy good food, great beer in a relaxed family environment. And we intend on keeping that going. From a business point of view, us being able to be open for an extra 3 hours in the summer, the 3 hours that we're choosing from 11 till 10 would make a huge difference to our business, and will probably, will definitely be able to make us survive these quite slow, challenging winter months. Although we've just gone through a very busy period, it was still very challenging operating any food and beverage from September until the summer months come and the tourists come through. So yeah, the requests the things we're asking for are quite small. We will be stacking our license on top of our current brewery license. We're still going to remain a brewery, predominantly selling beer that we brew on site. We will be selling some wine. Having this license will also allow us to move our brewery from where it is, and I don't know if many of you have been back there, but it is just located behind the tap, where the taps are in the tap room, and it's probably in the place where we should have a full indoor commercial kitchen, which we don't. So our winter offering is, challenging for our staff because we're shuffling from between our prep kitchen in the back to our galley kitchen, and for us to do that, we'd love to see a beer brewed in Whitefish, a business that we can build on, employ more people, and ultimately try and make the best beer in Montana come out of Whitefish. So to do that, we would need a beer and wine license to allow us to distribute our own beer at the premises that would be Bonsai. So those are kind of our future visions if we get there. So yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Thanks very much. Any questions? Giuseppe?
Are you going to add the word pub to the name of the business?
Not. No, as of now, no. We've hired a great brewer, a local guy called Marty, who's really doing a great job in there. I'd implore you all to come in and taste some of the old classics that he may have refined a little bit, some of his newer beers. But no, we intend to stay as a brewery. I think it is more of a family sort of environment, which is what we want to, keep and foster. And I think the community enjoy the space. So Yeah, no, we'll be a brewery.
Further questions? Thanks for what you're doing there. It's a great addition to that side of the neighborhood.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Further public comment this evening? Michelle, anyone online?
For those of you who are attending online, if you would like to speak towards WCUP 2512 Bonsai Brewery, please raise your hand. I think we're good.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Steve?
Move to approve WCUP 25-15 with the 8 conditions of approval.
Thanks, Steve. Second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Norton. Just beat you to it. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously. Thanks for your time tonight. Yep. Good luck with everything. Do you guys want a quick break or push through the last hearing? We'll move on to item 8C, Resolution 2601, approving an increase in ambulance fees and establishing new fees for certain fire rescue services provided by the WFD.
Good evening, Mayor and
Dana.
Council. I am taking this one on, as you'll hear from Cole here later tonight on the CWPP, so we're splitting duties here. The Whitefish Fire Department provides ambulance service for city residents and non-residents within the Whitefish Fire Department's emergency medical response area, which extends beyond city limits. For those calls outside of city limits, the city does receive a small response fee from the Flathead County EMS levy. However, most of the cost of the call is covered by charges for services billed to the patient. The ambulance fees for the city of Whitefish, the last increase was July of 2019, so it's been quite a while. Before that, we had a 3-year period where it was automatically increasing based on CPI for all urban consumers for medical care services. Once that was ended, we were really kind of crunched with time for staff trying to manage everything from COVID to growth policies. So in March of 2024, though, the City Council contracted with Baker Tilly to update our ambulance fees and provide a recommendation for what those rates should be based on a cost of service analysis. We received that report in May of 2025. After their presentation, council directed staff to prepare for a public hearing, updated rates with kind of a recommendation that those be lower than what was proposed by the consultants, and I'll get into that here in a minute. Staff took a look at what the consultants proposed and recognized that their fees would increase, our ambulance fees would increase based on their recommendation from 21% to 67% depending on which fee it was. A lot of that came from the 2021 Whitefish Fire Department Master Plan that recommended the fees be increased to provide a collectability rate of only 28 to 35%. We average closer to 49 to 59% depending on the year. And part of that has to do with dealing with insurance companies and making sure you can get your costs covered. That said, we know that not everybody has insurance, and so seeing the rate increase, we also wanted to compare that to our neighboring jurisdictions. You have that comparison on the back side of my staff reports. But when we take away the adjustment made to reach that 28 to 35% collectability, those costs come down quite significantly. We looked at taking what our fees were, our current fees are now, and applying from the last increase annually CPI rate and see what that would actually compare to. And that would still increase our ambulance fees about 22%. And so that's the proposal that we have before you, is to increase our current ambulance fees specifically by about 22%. That includes basic BLS, life-saving services, I think, ALS, which is advanced, and then treat, no transport. We have mileage rates. Those would all increase by about 22%, which would go from for our basic service of $1,070 to $1,304 compared to the consultant recommendation of $1,691. There's also a recommendation in the report from the consultants to add new fees, and that was something that the master plan called for, looking at what fees are we not charging for that we should be, especially when we can recoup them from auto insurance or other insurances that individuals might have. And so we're looking at adding new fire response fees for automobile accidents and other events where medical services are provided by our fire personnel, so those that are responding on a fire engine. And then also fire responses to gas leaks. Now, gas leaks are unique. You're supposed to call UDIG. So this is kind of a penalty fee, quite honestly, that we're having to show up for contractors who have broken a gas line. And so it is a much higher fee because of that. We went with the actual cost of response versus trying to reduce it anyway, because really we shouldn't have those calls. They should have called UDIG already. So for those, the automobile accidents, the initial response, the consultants recommended a flat rate of $1,124. Our proposal is to actually look at it on an hourly rate because the response depends on how long we're on scene for staff time. And so $350 was the calculation that Cole and I came to, which is actually based on the Montana Department of Natural Resources, our contract with them when we provide an engine that's staffed for wildfire response. So it's a reasonable cost in that that's what the state is actually reimbursing us. We felt that it was still reasonable based on, the time that we see ourselves on an automobile accident. And so that would be the same for if it was an automobile accident or if the fire truck responded to some type of medical emergency and started providing medical care while an ambulance might be elsewhere. We know that we are called multiple times with a small crew. It might be that we are separated, which is why you often see the fire truck respond with the ambulance, is to allow for that next call for them to move. Gas leaks, though, would be about $1,294. We did remove from the consultant fees the adjustment, again, to get to that 28 to 35% collectability. So it is a bit less for them there. There's less comparisons for those type of fees, though there are some. We do have, for example, Big Fork, they charge for an automobile accident response from $150 to $750. Belgrade's $319 to $669. So we did compare them to other communities as we could. Gas leaks would be a unique response fee that we would charge. So that's somewhat new. For, when looking at a 22% increase, it sounds very high, but if you divide it over the number of years that we did not increase, you'd be looking at close to a 3% increase. So much less than a true 22% increase just in 1 year. It really covers the costs that we've been paying for through property taxes.
Real quick question, Dana, from Steve, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Dana, on the automobile accidents and the gas leaks, it seems like there's, the amount of time we're there really varies.
Yes.
Should there be like a mobilization charge and then an hourly charge after that? Is that something that you considered, or is that just not really, is that too complicated, or?
Right, so we try to keep it simple in that the initial, the response, regardless of the time it takes, you're charged that 1 hour. So $350 for the response, regardless of how long we're on scene.
Right.
And then for each hour after that, it's $350. And part of that is that mobilization. We're out of the station. We might only be there for 15 minutes, but that time it took us away from other calls to provide service, so.
And is that the same for the gas leaks as well, or is that just a one-time charge that we have to respond to a gas leak?
So the gas leak is different. It is a one-time flat charge that if we have to show up to a gas leak where contractors had a break in a line, it is a flat fee of $35.46.
Oh, that was $12.94.
I'm sorry. That is, so the gas leak on that's $12.94. That's for residents versus non-residents. Sorry, you are correct. That is the resident rate. So we do have different rates depending on where they're located. For the gas leaks, there's a typo in my staff report, but I'll double check the resolution's correct. But we're going to charge for gas leaks, the fire service area that we're contracted to provide fire response, we will charge them the resident rate. But otherwise, if you're outside city limits, just like our ambulance rates, the one that I said, that's a resident rate. Non-residents do pay a higher rate because they are not paying the property tax levy that is funding our fire department as a non-resident.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for catching that. The one thing to consider as you compare us to other jurisdictions is that qualifications of firefighters that are responding or medical personnel that are responding varies by jurisdiction. We actually hire only paramedics now. We do have one advanced EMT that remains on our department, but we are responding with highly qualified individuals. You know, the type of population we serve and then the services that we offer, they vary by each entity. So for example, Eureka, correct me if I'm wrong, Cole, they don't provide advanced life services, correct?
Most of the time, I think right now they have no paramedics or
Yeah,
BLS only.
So BLS only, you don't have a paramedic. ALS, you do. And so, you know, that's just one thing to consider. Rescue Care, though, is a program that the city does offer, which is unique for us in that we understand not everybody has insurance and they should be able to call for an ambulance if they need it. So we still have our Rescue Care program. For $59 for primary residents, they can have it to where we will respond to a call for everybody listed in your household who's their primary resident. We will respond to your home, we will bill your insurance, and anything that we do not collect from the insurance company, we consider that payment in full. We don't go to private pay. Because sometimes your insurance doesn't cover the full cost, so then it goes to the individual to pay the remainder. Under this program, it provides really a great benefit for those that might need it. So again, like I said, we understand it's a big increase, but I think if you look at over the past 5 to 6 years, we've seen a fair share increase in our costs from personnel to equipment to supplies. The budget does assume an increase for our ambulance service charges, but does not account for any of the new fire fees. And part of that is because we had already started the consultant process with them creating this cost of service analysis. We knew that a rate increase needed to happen. So what we would generate based on our proposal, based on the number of calls, I'm estimating that it'll match what we have projected in the budget for ambulance revenues, or at least close to. And so with that, if you have any questions, staff recommends after holding a public hearing that the City Council adopt the resolution approving an increase in our ambulance fees and establishing new fees for certain fire rescue services provided by our Whitefish Fire Department.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks, Cole. Any questions for staff? Ben?
Dana, do we have the ability to differentiate our fees? Well, let me back up. What happens if somebody's uninsured?
So if they're uninsured, it becomes a private pay where we would bill the individual. There are instances where the fire chief may provide in certain extenuating circumstances a write-off of the debt. So we go through the billing company and they would bill that person individually. And then the billing company works with that individual and I believe makes recommendations to Cole on anything that would be considered a bad debt write-off.
Do we have the ability to differentiate our rates for those who are uninsured?
You could, but I think when it comes down to Medicare and Medicaid, that would be a challenge because I believe what we charge private, and Michelle might even know this from when she did ambulance billing, but I believe that will be a conflict with the Medicare and Medicaid. We would have to bill that at the lower rate if you create a lower rate for those that are uninsured.
So if you're uninsured and you ride in an ambulance, do you receive a bill automatically for the full amount?
Yes, you would
even
receive.
Even though we know we would only expect to collect at best 50% of that from most insurance companies.
And that's why our collectability rate ranges from 49 to 59%. Also Medicare, we end up writing a lot off as well. Because Medicare and Medicaid do not cover the full billed amount.
Right.
And then you can't bill after, right? Medicaid you cannot bill.
If we are unable to differentiate rates, are we able to have an internal policy that would say something to the effect of we don't collect from uninsured individuals?
I don't recommend that because we offer the rescue care program where $59 a year, and one $59 payment, you can be covered to where, correct me if I'm wrong, can you do rescue care without insurance? Yes, so you can, for $59, cover yourself for your ambulance ride. A year.
And can you do that retroactively, or do you have to do that ahead of time?
No, you have to have it at the time, but you can sign up anytime during the year. It's a membership.
But I mean, if somebody's uninsured, they're not gonna do that, right?
Ideally, they see that as an insurance option if they needed an ambulance ride. But I would recommend, if you're looking at doing something like that, you identify a funding source, because you would need to, make up the cost that it's going to take to care for those individuals. Somebody else is paying for it, essentially. Because in our budget, the revenue we're generating, the write-offs we already know that we're going to do of like 40%, up to 40% write-offs, that we're trying to cover the cost of the department and the services provided. So I understand where you're going, but for $59 a year, they have it covered. It's just individuals need to think about that, but often nobody thinks they need an ambulance ride, and I understand that as well.
Yeah. And so when we say we write off, I believe you said, we waive private pay, so to the extent the insurance company, does that factor deductibles? Probably not, right? Like if somebody, right, okay.
Yeah, it would. It would just factor whatever the insurance company is going to pay. So if they assume there's a deductible of $1,000, so they're not going to pay the first $1,000, they'll pay the remaining portion.
So if you have a high deductible insurance, which a lot of people do, the insurance company doesn't pay it, so the entire bill would go to the insured?
If they aren't under rescue care.
Okay.
But we do run it through insurance. So like we run everything through the insurance.
Right.
Yep.
But the insurance company, like if they haven't reached their deductible, then the bill gets forwarded essentially to the insured. And so the insurance companies will push back on rates if they're paying, but what if they aren't paying because am I making sense? Like if that bill, if the person has a high deductible insurance, and let's say they haven't reached it, and then we bill that full amount to the insurance company, they're gonna in turn send the full cost of that back to the insured. Are they gonna send it back at the retail cost, or are they gonna send it back at the negotiated lower cost?
There's no negotiation on our fees.
Well, there's 50%.
No, that's just uncollectability. So that is basically anything for Medicaid, once we bill Medicaid, we cannot go private pay. We cannot ask for the remainder from the individual. For others, you go through the insurance, and then whatever they pay, the remainder will go to the private pay. For rescue care, we go to the insurance, and then if they don't pay at all, we consider the bill paid in full, similar to Medicaid.
So why do we have the 50% uncollected rate? I mean,
a majority of it is going to be Medicaid write-offs through Medicare and Medicaid.
right, because they're
Because they're at a
unwilling to
set
pay our
rate.
rates.
They're going to charge, you're allowed to charge what you can charge based on their policies,
Okay.
which is a lot of our calls. So I will say that we have a higher, it could be even higher, that we would have a higher, a lower collectability rate. Just as our population ages, we'll continue to see that.
I mean, if I told you I had moral objections to the concept of billing citizens more than Medicare is willing to pay for the same service, just because they don't negotiate, I mean, is there any solution to this problem? I mean, it just feels unfair.
I don't think we can. I mean, I really don't think
Well,
that
I
there's
know.
a means to do that.
Or maybe,
I mean, we're doing it the same as every other ambulance service out there.
Sure.
And really, that's how any healthcare system works.
yeah,
So,
okay. All right, thank you.
Giuseppe?
Yes, I guess some of this discussion is independent from raising the fees. I mean, there is something that maybe later we can review, because we can have that conversation regardless of how high the rates are. My question is, say there is a visitor here who rents here, but he doesn't own here, gets hit by the car, gets in the ambulance, do we differentiate the rate because he or she, it, them, is not a resident versus if I can show I'm a property owner while I'm bleeding, I get a discount. Is it practical? I mean, does it work that way?
It's resident or property owner.
Right, but I live here, but I rent, and I don't vote here, so I'm not a resident.
If you rent here, it goes off of your address. So if you rent here, like, it's a long-term rental. I mean, it's not for short-term rentals. It's not for, you have to be a resident. Yep. Yep. Your legal mailing address.
Further questions for Dana? Andy?
So in theory, if rates go up, collection rates should go down, correct?
Correct. And that, yes, and that is how it works. And that's actually how it shows in the budget. So, because the more that you're billing to Medicare and Medicaid,
The less they're going to pay.
the less they're going to pay. And that's the theory of why you should have a lower collectability rate is because of, higher rates. Eventually they'll catch up, and then also your private pays. Your non-Medicare, Medicaid, the insurance companies will pay more. And so, if you think about 3.6% over the past 6 years is the increase that we're proposing, tell me what your medical insurance costs went up those 5 years. It's way more than what this cost is.
So we are Medicare and Medicaid providers, correct?
Correct.
Because we can bill for them.
Yes.
So legally, you can't charge more than what they've set their annual fees at, but private insurance companies will set their own rates as well, which is variable all over. So to me, it seems like what we should do is actually advertise rescue care a lot, and I'm just wondering, and because it's $59 a year, you're covered, you won't have to pay more than that, even if you don't have insurance. So how do people sign up for that, Dana? And is there a timeline for signing up? You said we can sign up all year long, but how, and it's a year-long subscription. And then how do people get on that program?
So you can go to our website, and they have the application form. It is for a full year. You can sign up at any point during the year, but it's the same price. So, but it starts July 1 and goes through June of each year. That's the membership period. In the future, if we did see all of our customers go to rescue care, we would have to put restrictions on it because it would effectively decrease our revenues, if you think about it. But it really is a program that's out there for those that might be frequent flyers or those that maybe do not have health insurance and could have that. I think, we haven't seen it grow over the past 6 years or since I've been here. The school district participates. We participate as the Parks Department for our summer camp program. So we do have a couple contracts for sporting events for the school. They do cover their athletes under that program. So there's certain agreements we've been able to make. But so kids that might not be covered under insurance, they're covered during those events. But yeah, it's one that we will have to eventually look at the fees also, just given those fees haven't been increased in some time as well. And it's only for medically necessary transport, and it has to be transport that originates in Whitefish response area. And so there are some requirements. It has to be deemed medically necessary.
Is there a flyer or anything for
There
this?
is, yeah, you can find it online.
Okay,
On
great.
our website.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you have any other medical advice for us?
No,
Insurance
none.
advice for us, Dana?
Call 2Bear.
No. Have I rode our ambulance and had to pay full price, even though I knew that program existed? Absolutely. Yeah.
Additional questions for Dana? Not seeing any. We did advertise for a public hearing on Resolution 26-01. Any public comment this evening from the audience? How about online, Michelle?
For those of you who are attending online, if you would like to speak towards Resolution 2601, Increase in ambulance fees and establishing new fees for certain fire rescue. Please raise your hand. We're good.
I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion. Frank?
I would move to approve Resolution 2601, a resolution approving an increase in the ambulance fees and establishing new fees for certain fire rescue services provided by the Whitefish Fire Department.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Cornell. Further discussion?
Just one comment. I think when we first started the rescue care program, which was over 25 years ago now, I think it was $59. So I think we might, we might want to take a look at that here sometime in the future. But I don't think the numbers ever changed from when Dave Sipe first said it. I think
yeah.
it's the same number.
Non-resident might have changed.
Non-resident might have
Yeah.
changed, yeah.
That's the only one that I
But
recall.
resident,
And it might have
so-
been $45.
Was it 49?
I think it was 45.
45, yeah, that
And
might
then
be
we
right.
increased it to 59.
Yeah,
Well,
under me.
25 years, it really
Always me.
maybe could go up a couple more dollars than that, so.
Ben?
All right. Dan, I've done a great job putting this together, and I mean that. Everything I'm about to say has nothing to do with the work that's been done here. But I gotta say a few things, and I'm sorry if this is a soapbox, but I guess I'm an elected official and I can do that. This system, in my view, is a farce. It really is. It's like and I'm talking about the broader medical system, and I realize I'm sitting here in a city council meeting raving about the world, but I'm voting on something in front of me that is a part of that. And we have this system where we set these artificially high rates. We know insurers are not going to pay them, and the people that get hurt the most by this are the people that are underinsured, that are not insured, who are not in a position to push back on these rates. And where the world is going these days, insurance deductibles get higher and higher and higher. Those costs get pushed back onto the citizens. I think nobody should be scared to call EMS. If there is an emergency, you should be calling EMS and not being worried about getting hit with a bill. I have problems charging people in this town more than we're willing to pay other people for the same services like Medicare or Blue Cross Blue Shield or some other company. If they say, I'm only willing to pay this much and we accept that, but we're gonna go to other citizens and we're gonna tell them, no, you have to pay more. The system is just broken. And I know it's not our fault. I know it's not staff's fault. I know it's not this consultant's fault, but I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, man, we are voting on something that is just a cog in this wheel, and I just can't do it. So I'm not going to vote for it. I don't know. I don't have another solution right now. It's too complicated for me to come up with another solution, but I'm just so I'm on the record saying, I don't like this. I don't think this is fair to people, and I hope that one day we can figure out something better. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ben. Rebecca?
Yeah, so what happens then, you're right, it's a crazy system. But what happens in medicine is most organizations have foundations that develop a pool of money so that people that don't have the capacity to pay, they can access that by applying for a scholarship kind of. So we could look at something like that. I think historically our ambulance services have lost money through billing and things like that. Oh yeah, Dana's like, oh yeah. And so that's why we fund them through general funds and bonds and things like that, because it's an essential service. So the public knows it's an essential service. But you know, in the future, if there's a way that we could come up with extra funds to help people, I would be open to that concept. But most hospitals have foundations for that purpose, and it's part of the game. You write off things a lot when you're in the business, because I did my own insurance things for years, and it is heartbreaking, and a lot of people can't pay their bills. So I appreciate your good heart around that.
I have a question, sorry.
Steve, then Giuseppe.
Okay. Dana, can I ask you a quick question? Do we send these people to collections who we've billed that they don't pay, they don't have insurance, or they get sent to collections?
Yes, they do. I haven't seen how many are going to collections, but with medical billing on collections, it's a little bit different. I think there's some, like, as long as you're making a payment, $1, I mean, that's all that you're required
Well,
to.
I
There's
mean,
not much they can do.
Yeah. Do we have any control over whether that affects their
We-
credit rating or not? Because I know that there was a.
We control who's sent to collections. Like that, they usually send a report, and then we're provided the opportunity. I don't know how many they are sending to collections. We're looking at potentially going out for a bid for a new ambulance billing company. But
The bottom line is we control who we send to collections.
we should be, yeah, I believe we control who's being sent to
Okay.
collection. Correct, Cole? You should be or was getting.
We're not getting asked.
We're not getting asked.
so I
Well, we
don't-
were getting
Okay.
asked. And so we'll follow up with that. But no, if there is the opportunity to send people to collections, we don't do that on utility bills because we shut water off. We do that at the court. They go to collections. Ambulance rides can go. In Montana,
Maybe.
an ambulance response
Let's
is.
not belabor the point
No,
too
no,
much.
yeah.
Maybe part of the solution that Ben is looking for lies in that
Yeah.
piece, and maybe we could investigate that a little bit.
We do, yeah, so we have people on monthly payments. So like we have people paying $25 a month for the rest of their lives probably, because it's gonna take that long for some. Maybe, I don't know, our bills are not the expensive part. If you go to the ER, you know whose bill's way more than ours.
Right, I
But
understand.
we do allow for time pay, which is $25 a month or whatever the agreement becomes. So we have time pays, as long as they're trying to make payments, they don't go to collections. So it's the communication aspect. You know, if they ask for a hardship, we might even just write off a portion and then agree to a certain portion that they time pay over a period of time. So we do work with the customers. It is not just we're billing you, and if you don't pay, we're going to send you to collections. That is not what occurs.
Okay, well,
Yeah, not at
maybe, I don't know if the rest of the council agrees with you, but I'd like to see some statistics about how many people we send to collections and for what.
Yeah, we can pull that
I'd
information.
I'd like to know that, just because of, maybe that's an out for us in some ways. Maybe not, I don't know, but I'd like to have a little more information about that, and if that's okay with the rest of council, maybe we could look at that as, a possible side solution to this. Other than that, Ben, I agree with everything you just said, and at the same time, we're elected to govern, and we have to govern the best we can. And in this case, this is one of those things where you just have to hold your nose, knowing that you're voting for a stinking pile of crap, and that's what it is. And so I am gonna vote for this, knowing that I don't like it, but I don't see another solution in terms of funding our emergency services.
Giuseppe?
Thank you. Just a follow-up question. You've been speaking in the past tense, meaning we have been doing this, we have been withholding collections and so on. That was before we even voted to increase these rates, correct?
Correct.
So the issue Councilor Davis is discussing applies to the status quo and will apply even more if we voted to increase the rates. Am I correct?
The policies that we have, the practices that we have would not change. It's just the rates that are changing to recoup the increasing costs of offering ambulance service, which is not a required service in the state of Montana.
So our vote tonight is not affecting the process and is not affecting the damage, the financial damage we cause to people who are not insured. We might increase that financial damage by a little bit, but the issue is already in place.
Correct.
Okay, so Ben, I fully agree with your sentiment. I think I'm learning about this issue in a more heated manner tonight, but the issue has been there in my mind. So while I agree with your point, and I would offline propose that we look at this work session-wise or however, at this point, I will vote in favor while agreeing with your principle.
Excuse me. Further comments? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and the motion does carry on a 5-1 vote with Councilor Davis voting in opposition, and we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll reconvene at about 9:23.
Oh, I know it is. I know I can't do anything, but it's just, it's beyond the
I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting back to order, and we will move on to item 9A, consideration to award the consulting contract for the CWPP and authorize the city manager to finalize the PSA. And I'll turn it over to Chief Hadley.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. City of Whitefish issued a request for proposals on October 22nd, 2025, seeking for qualified consultant to complete the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Consultant selection process followed the rating panel and selection panel structure. The rating panel included the Deputy Fire Chief, City Manager, and myself, reviewing all submitted proposals. Finalists were identified based on experience, approach to wildfire planning, and project timeline. The City of Whitefish received timely RFPs from 8 consulting firms, and through the review process, 5 were selected for interviews. DJ&A, SWCA, Bintel Incorporated, MC Fire, and Sholetta. The selection committee consisted of Deputy Fire Chief, City Manager, Councilor Sweeney, and myself. The structured interviews with the top 5 firms were conducted with evaluation criteria focusing on technical expertise, familiarity with CWPP development, and overall fit with Whitefish's needs. Following the completion of interviews, the selection panel reached a unanimous consensus that SWCA Environmental Consultants was the most qualified firm. The city's fiscal year 26 adopted budget appropriates $100,000 for updates to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. The budget is utilizing pro-housing grant funds, and the proposed budget from SWCA Environmental Consultants is $87,364.73 with a project completion timeline to be finalized as part of the contract scope. Staff recommends that City Council approve the selection of SWCA Environmental Consultants to complete the Community Wildfire Protection Plan and authorize staff to finalize the professional services agreement consistent with the RFP.
Thanks, Chief Hadley. Any questions? Rebecca?
I'm sorry, what is the timeline for completion of this? Because there's been a lot of chatter online, which I know I'm in trouble for being online again, but people are really concerned about the evacuation out on the other side of the viaduct. So when would we be concluding this then? So that people could be more comfortable?
I'm going to help Cole with that. During our interviews, and Councilor Sweeney can agree with this, or I think he will, we heard a lot about the 6-month being a very tight timeline, which is what we put the RFP out for. All the firms said that they could get it done in 6 months, but many recommended that we take a longer period. In talking with the SWCA as I'm working to negotiate a contract with them, they really wanted to go to 12 months, and I said, with the pro-housing grant funds and us wanting to get this done, as soon as possible, can we work with the 8-9 month realm to try to bring that to a better, quicker product, but also a better product for the community, because it's a lot of community outreach and working with other agencies. And so I think the contract, you can give direction tonight if you'd like, to push it to 6 months from the contract execution date, or you could give direction to do 8 to 9 months. It's up to you. Otherwise, I wasn't really comfortable with the 12 months that they recommended, but I was more looking at 8 months.
Thank you, Dana.
Mm-hmm.
John, could I just interrupt for a second? Alan, if you and Scott want to have a conversation, could you step out in the hallway, please? Sorry, it's hard to listen to 2 things going on at one time. That's okay.
Additional questions for Dana? I would entertain a motion, and just for the record and full disclosure and transparency, SWCA did acquire my company, River Design Group, 18 months ago. I had no role in the selection process. I'll have no affiliation with the project. I will not be voting at any point on the adoption of this plan, and I have no financial gain associated with how the council votes tonight, just for the record and full transparency. Please.
I move to hire SWCA Environmental Consultants for the amount of $87,364.73 to develop and implement the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and to authorize staff to initiate a professional services contract.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Sweeney. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously. We'll move on to, thank you, Chief Hadley. Move on to item 10A, resolution number 26-02, authorizing the submittal of an MCEP infrastructure planning grant application. Craig.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Realizing that you have almost a 300-page packet, I'm going to condense this as much as I can. My full staff report starts on page 246. We've talked quite a bit over the years about clear water inflow and infiltration, or I&I, in our sanitary sewer system. It's something that we budget to try and eliminate every year, and we've been, at this point, pretty much put on notice by DEQ that we need to do a preliminary engineering report specifically targeted at reducing I&I. So essentially, I'm asking council to adopt the resolution in your packet to apply for a $30,000 Montana Coal Endowment Plan, or MCEP, grant. We do have the local match for $50,000 budgeted in fiscal '26. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Thanks, Craig. Any questions for our director? Rebecca.
No, just, I could make a motion.
That's awesome.
Okay. Get through this quickly. I move to apply for a $30,000 MCEP infrastructure planning grant from the Montana Department of Commerce as administered by our Public Works Department.
Thanks, Rebecca. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Sweeney. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that vote is unanimous as well, Michelle. We'll move on to item 11A, review and consideration of the annual 2025 impact fee report, and I'll turn it over to our city manager, Dana Meeker.
Turn it over to Laney.
Thanks, Laney.
I wish I could be as succinct as Craig, but since I never get to talk to you, I'm going to bore you all. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The annual impact fee report is required under the city code, and the information provided in the staff report on impact fees is updated for fiscal year in 2025. Highlights of the recent historic timeline include hiring Tischler Bice in 2022 through an RFP process to provide an updated impact fee study to more accurately reflect the current growth and expansion needs of the city. That study was completed in September of 2023 and adopted by the City Council in October 2023 with an effective date of January 1, 2024. As you heard in the work session with Colin, in the updated report, some of the impact fees that were existing or changed with the original study in 2023, such as Parks and Recreation, paved trails, and City Hall, as well as administrative fees, have been eliminated with the 69th state legislative session in the spring of 2025. And this will affect impact fee revenues beginning October 1st of 2025. Water and sewer impact fees are still allowed and continue to be tracked in their own respective enterprise funds. Prior to January 2024, impact fees for City Hall, paved trails, the Park Maintenance Building, and the Emergency Services Center and Stormwater were all accounted for in one impact fee fund, which is reflected in your budget document as Fund Number 2399. With the original study by Tischler Bice in 2023, the Stormwater impact fee, Park Building Maintenance impact fee, and the Emergency Services Center impact fee were eliminated, and an impact fee for police, Parks and Recreation, and fire and ambulance were created. Due to reporting requirements and for better transparency, each impact fee was given its own special revenue fund number beginning January 1, 2024. The first part of the annual report on impact fees, which is on pages 249 through 256 of your packet, reports on the cash balance, revenues, and expenditures of the impact fees collected respectively in that fund. Cash reserves for each impact fee except the Emergency Services Center impact fee increased in fiscal year 25 over the prior year. As reflected in the table on the bottom of page 250 in your packet, the increase to the cash balance of each impact fee is due to interest earned. While increasing cash reserves is appropriate when projects are planned within a reasonable time frame, it is generally accepted that the revenue generated from impact fees be spent within 5 to 10 years. Cash reserves in this fund are used for their intended growth-related purpose, and the decrease of the Emergency Services Center impact fee cash balance was due to the outlay for the storage expansion project in fiscal year 25 at the ESC. Sewer and water impact fees impact fee activities are reflected in their own enterprise funds as shown on the table, in the table on page 251, and the revenues for impact fees in both funds are at their lowest in each fund since 2020. Water impact fees for fiscal year 25 decreased $23,700 or 10.8% under fiscal year 24. Wastewater impact fees decreased by $51,836 or 18.91% compared to the previous year. During fiscal year 25, the city experienced an increase in building permits, which would typically suggest an increase in water and wastewater impact fee revenue. However, the methodology for sizing meters was updated to follow the American Water Works Association standards, and the change in meter sizing and types of development projects that occurred led to a decrease in the revenue. While funds were appropriated in the fiscal year 25 budget in both the water and wastewater impact fee funds for appropriate growth-related projects, the most substantial outlay was for the South Water Storage Project, which we talked a little bit about at the work session today. Administrative fees were charged to developers at a rate of 5% as allowed by law and deposited into the general fund for the individual impact fees or the respective enterprise funds of water and wastewater. As shown on the table, in the table on page 252, there was an overall increase of 32.4% in administrative fees under the new methodology of the 2023 study, with the greatest increase attributed to impact fees related to City Hall, paved trails, parks and recreation, fire and ambulance, and police, but also reflecting a slight decrease in both water and wastewater administrative fee revenue. As mentioned earlier, the new impact fee funds were created in January of 2024 to better track revenues and expenditures for each impact fee, and fiscal year 2025 was the first full year of collections for each of 5 impact fees recommended by the 2023 study. This is why the increase in the total revenues for funds 2380 through 2384 from fiscal year 24 to 25 is substantial. When comparing an impact fee revenues including interest and administrative fees across the applicable funds in the table on page 254, there is an increase of 17.05% from the $814,581 of fiscal year 24 to the $953,446 of fiscal year 25. Impact fees may be spent on public improvements, including but not limited to planning, land acquisition, right-of-way acquisition, site improvements, necessary off-site improvements, construction, engineering, architectural services, permitting, applicable impact fees or for mitigation costs, and any other expenses that can be capitalized with a useful life of 10 years or more. Impact fees may also be used to recoup public improvement costs previously incurred by the city to the extent that new growth and development will be served by the previously constructed improvements or costs incurred. Impact fees may not be used for the operation or maintenance of public facilities, nor may they be used for remodeling, rehabilitation, or other improvements to an existing structure. Impact fees are used only for projects that address new demands due to growth. Each year, the city updates the capital improvement plan to appropriate resources, including impact fees for applicable projects. As mentioned earlier, funds in fiscal year 25 were spent on the ESC storage expansion project and the South Water storage and production project. In addition, refunds were issued pursuant to the settlement agreement for the Beck et al. Versus the City of Whitefish et al. Case. Finally, to recap the legislative changes of the 2025 legislative session as it relates to impact fees for the City of Whitefish, impact fees can no longer be collected for paved trails, City Hall, or Parks and Recreation, and administrative fees for all impact fees have also been eliminated effective October 2025. We still have the ability to spend what has been collected prior to October 1, 2025 for their respective purposes, but going forward, the city will collect on police, fire and ambulance, water, and wastewater only. The Impact Fee Advisory Committee met on November 12th, 2025, to review the report and move to recommend approval of the annual report by the City Council. Staff respectfully requests that the City Council accept the annual fiscal year 25 report.
Thanks, Laney. Any questions for Laney on her staff report or the impact fee study?
I do have a question, I'm sorry. Well, as long as it's not about healthcare, okay? Okay, so we had a presentation earlier today. Those are new impact fees. I'm assuming we're going to discuss these again at some future date about adopting the new fees, and given that it's late at this hour, we're probably not wanting to dive too far into that now. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Dana didn't answer, but
I'll let the council decide. I'd rather know them now to pass them on if we don't know the answers, but we can bring it up again.
all right, I'll just pass on my feedback from the work session in a nutshell. Is the end result is a substantial decrease in impact fees, and that has me concerned. I mean, I know it's not like the cost of anything we're doing is going down. That represents a tax burden shift from developers to the citizens, and I guess in general, I felt like I needed a little more explanation of why they're changing so much, because in my opinion, it seems like those fees should be changing on a kind of consistent basis, not way up and way down. We just approved a bunch of increases, now we're undoing them. And so anyway, I sort of felt like, to me, maybe some more explanation would help. I know we were kind of rushed in that meeting. I don't know how we want to do this, but I'm just going to put that feedback out there, so.
I can tell you that the majority of the reason of that decrease is due to the peak demand changing so drastically between 2022 and 2024. And with the impact fees, by using peak demand, it's going to change, and that's why you're updating them every 5 years. Peak demand during 1 year can be different based on usage, based on population visitation, all of that. And so that is a challenge of it, but to be consistent in our application of how we calculated the impact fees adopted in 2023, it's appropriate to reduce them based on new data. And so you'll have an opportunity again, though, to update those in 3 to 5 years.
When do you think the new fees will be coming forward for adoption?
Really no earlier than probably March.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion. Rebecca?
I move to accept the annual impact fee report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, as presented by our finance director.
Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councilor Fury. Further discussion?
Nice job, Lainey, and I really liked how you described the settlement.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously. You have Dana's report enclosed with the packet. Any questions for our city manager? Dana, anything additional to report on?
Just one thing that's come up, and we did hear it at public comment, is the Opeclo site cleanup. We've provided 2 orders, and talking to Angie today through the fire marshal, and talking to Angie today, the next step will be really going through the court process to deem their lack of response, give us the ability to clean it up. So we'll see what happens there, but we are keeping that on our to-do list.
Can I add
Frank?
to that real quick? I did earlier today talk to a company that has been apparently hired to do the asbestos remediation. They wanted water, a water connection at a fire hydrant, so we're working with them. He did not give me a schedule, but it sounded like it was the asbestos remediation was going to be starting here in the next week or two. So
Great.
I think they're moving forward.
Frank?
I think it's really important, Dana, at this juncture, that we as a city take the next affirmative step that we have, which is filing whatever is required to be filed with the courts to enforce the removal of that stuff. I mean,
Sure,
I don't
if
think we
that's-
ought to,
yeah.
I'm not waiting around
No,
to
that's
see what
fine.
these guys are doing.
Yep, if that's council direction, I'm happy to take it and run.
I for one
Everyone
think it's-
agree?
I think it's really important that we do that.
Yep. Thanks, Frank. We will, what's that? I know. We'll move on to item 12C. Kim is here in the audience. Thanks, Kim, for attending. To consider a request from the Northwestern Montana Land Trust to release the deed restriction on 714 and 610 Trailview Way and request funds from the city. Kim.
Good evening. I'm glad to see that democracy is alive and well in Whitefish. I am happy to be here again tonight to inform you that I have an opportunity for the Land Trust to purchase 610 Trailview. That is 100% certain, and we would like to proceed forward with that. We've hit a little bit of a hiccup with 714. I won't know until Wednesday whether or not we'll actually be able to purchase 714 Trailway. If in fact we are able to, then at that time, with your permission, I would like to work with the staff to lift the deed restriction on that one as well. And then on Friday, I was notified that the owner of 506 Trailview might also want to sell his home, and if that turns out to be the case, then I might be back in here in 2 weeks to ask you to lift the deed restriction on that one as well. So those would be number 12, 13, and 14 that we could purchase in Trailview. So we're getting a hefty amount, and we're planning to have a sort of a letter go out to all of the homeowners with deed restrictions and ground leases at the end of this month, just saying we're here and we're working, and we're happy to have you contact us with any questions that you have. So my request is for sure 610, 714 if indeed here in a few days we deem that that's necessary. And then my second request is that, as you have so generously done in the past, potentially $40,000 for each one of those purchases that would assist us in buying the land underneath those homes and bring down the purchase price. In both cases, the price is somewhere between $400,000 and $425,000. The $40,000 from the city on each case would bring that down, and then the Community Land Trust would then bring in another $20,000 to $40,000 to bring it into a price range where the new buyer can manage the mortgage. So.
Thanks, Kim. Any questions for Kim on the request?
Actually, thank you, Kim. Not for Kim, but for the staff. Do we have budget for this, and under which account?
We do. So we have, you have available, with the $80,000 requested, you would still have $42,000 remaining as appropriated for fiscal year 26 in the Affordable Housing Fund.
So this would be $42,000 remaining until June 30th.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ben?
Would you like a motion?
Yes, please.
I would move to approve the land trust requests pertaining to 714 and 610 Trailview Way along with the request for $40,000 for each home.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Counselor Quinnell. Discussion?
I do just have a question about how would this impact, hearing that we only have $42,000 left in our housing fund, how would this impact potentially with the potential purchase of the Habitat for Humanity, or working with Habitat for Humanity for snow lot stuff?
I have never had a discussion with Habitat about that, and so I cannot tell you.
Okay.
I have, in fact, had multiple conversations over the last year with Housing Whitefish, and my board is very interested in the Community Land Trust taking on the management of those homes to be sold and then managed and then resold, as we do with all of our houses in the future, if those houses are built by whomever they're built by.
Okay.
And so the funds that you have in your account don't play with that,
Okay.
that plan.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Further comments? Ben?
I just wanted to say thanks again for coming back. Obviously, I support what you're doing here. And I would just say too, if you have another one in 2 weeks and it looks just like this, you can have the night off and send it in, and I'll support it for you if you're not here.
That's very nice of you. Very, very generous.
All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and that motion does carry unanimously. Thanks, Kim.
And I do remember that last year you asked me to try and come up with a plan that wasn't onesies, twosies, and I would like to tell you that I am actually working on a plan, and I hope that by February or March I can come back and tell you more definitively about a plan that's more than 1 or 2 houses at a time. So, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Kim. We'll move on to item 13 of our agenda. You have 2 letters from Shelter Whitefish, which included a 27-page report. Keegan, thanks very much for the content and detail. I personally would like to defer this to the next meeting so we could have a more robust discussion, because it's a lot of information to digest at 10 o'clock after meeting for 5 hours, but I'll certainly defer to the council on your discretion. But we could certainly repost this to the January 20th meeting.
I'm fine with that, Mr. Mayor.
Just have one comment. Alan's been waiting this whole time, and I'm just wondering if there's a timeline that we might be running up against with the growth policy. Did you want to speak to us at all, Alan Tiffenbach? Long Ridge plan? No, he's still there. Yeah, and I figured you were here for this reason, is that right? Wait, I have to get permission from the mayor to recognize you.
No, you don't.
Oh, okay.
Alan Tiefenbach, Long Range Planner. You are going to have a work session about housing. Dana, help me, February. I'm almost wondering if this would be appropriate during that discussion when we're going to actually spend an hour and a half talking about the housing element. February 2nd. So the day after tomorrow or the day, first of all, I apologize, Mr. Quinnell, if my voice was loud back there. So I apologize about that. That was unacceptable. The day after tomorrow or tomorrow, you're going to be the lucky recipients of the first fully assembled version of Vision Whitefish, minus the sections that you won't be talking about on the 20th. So you're going to get a 147-page document. You'll have 2 weeks to read it. That gives you a little more than the usual push. Those first 3 topics we'll be talking about on January 20th, so it'll be a robust work session. But the 2 really biggies, obviously, would be housing and land use. You have separate work sessions set aside for that. Housing will be February 2nd. So there'll be an hour and a half work session where we can delve into all that, and also that would be happening after the Planning Commission has now had a chance to finish housing. So to me, it's a little more appropriate because the Planning Commission is going to be meeting about housing Wednesday. At least that's the first part of it. I'm not sure how many meetings that will take. But they have to be, the Planning Commission has the final adoption or not adoption of the plan scheduled for February 19th. So the thing's a little tricky is you're going to be talking about you're going to be having work sessions prior to the Planning Commission actually adopting the plan. So that was a long-winded answer. There's going to be a whole work session on housing that you could discuss on February 2nd. And you're going to be you'll be well apprised of it on that date. I will talk to you about the whole housing element and all of the issues that comprise it. But I don't know yet what the a lot of this, I guess, there's kind of, I know everybody's tired, including me. It comes down to numbers, what the numbers are, and then it comes down to what the policies are and whether the numbers are going to affect the policies. And that's going to be a decision I'm going to talk to the Planning Commission about on Wednesday, about whether whether we build 100 units a year or 300 units a year. This comes down to the policies. We don't build housing. So we have the policies about how we can try to facilitate it getting done, and will those numbers change the policies? That's really what it comes down to.
Thank you, Alan. It seems to me that our process that we have is we ask the planning board to evaluate these things first, and maybe this is what you're saying, but are you basically saying that maybe we should just have the planning board look at this and then we react to it when it comes to council?
I think all the research they've done is great. I have research from other parties now saying that research isn't correct. My research is correct. So that's, yay my life. Planning Commission will be discussing this at length, and I'll find out if they believe that changing the numbers will change the substantive nature of the housing element. That's really what it comes down to, right? We don't build housing. We get funding. I've never been here long enough to hear that. That's the shut up, Alan siren. So, that's what it comes down to, is whether or not changing the numbers is going to really change the content of the housing element, because we're just trying to get housing built, whether it's 100 units or 300 units a year.
Mr. Mayor, I think the appropriate time to discuss, we should review this, obviously. I think the appropriate time to discuss this is when we have our work session. And that's when we probably ought to talk about it, and we'll have time at that time, and it won't be 10 o'clock at night.
I agree. Alan, thanks.
Sorry again, my apologies, Mr. Cornell.
Hanging out so late. You have one additional letter from Tony Marasco. Any questions on his letter? Or can we move on to the 14 board appointments? Why don't we go ahead and do so? We'll start with the first appointment to various boards, committees, and commissions. Bike Ped, Giuseppe, you're the current designee.
I can keep pedaling.
Climate Action Committee, Ben?
I have been on this committee for 6 years. I did pick up an additional committee this year. So I sort of put some feelers out if anybody would be interested in taking the spot. I know I did talk to Rebecca, since I did take over a committee from her recently, if she would be interested, or if anybody else would. That would be awesome.
Great. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Very much. Housing Committee, Ben?
Happy to do it.
Okay. You catching all these, Michelle? Yep. Okay. Impact Fee Advisory Committee, Giuseppe's our current designee.
I'm willing to sit there. I'm learning more and more. Mike is there too. If you have nothing to the contrary, I'm good.
All those in favor? Yep. Okay. Thanks, Giuseppe. The exciting Insurance Medical Committee.
Not me.
Andy and Rebecca, you'll remain as our designees. Legacy Lands, we have the Recreation and Conservation Committee, the LLAC. We have two counselors, Council Fury and Cornell. Okay. Great. Whitefish Trail Ops Committee, Andy? Great, thanks for that. NWED, Giuseppe? Park Board?
I'll stay.
Okay, Planning Commission, Councilor Sweeney and Davis and Fury as alternates.
And I better be on the number 4, because I've done a third of them this year. So can we go?
You want to be a third alternate?
Yeah.
Can we do that, Michelle?
Well, we have to legally make me the third alternate, because I got 2 hours of notice last time, and then Dana said, you haven't been voted on, but I still did it.
Can we
so-
go ahead and do that, Michelle?
I don't see why you can't have multiple alternates.
Okay.
Then maybe.
Should we
'Cause
just
it
have
does-
a lineup?
I think it does state,
Yeah.
Starter today.
I think it does state that we need a council member, so you guys could maybe even vote all of you in as alternates. Why not?
Why don't we just go ahead and do that?
Perfect.
To Steve's point.
We got a lot of meetings
Yeah.
these days.
I don't think that's appropriate, actually.
I will say with the alternates and with all due respect, I think that as the council, it'd be good for you guys to come up with a plan of notifying your alternates 24 hours in advance, 48 hours in advance, just because like Rebecca said, she was notified 2 hours. It's hard to read a packet or prepare, especially Park Board and Planning Commission specifically. Those two, making sure that those alternates, you guys have a plan of like notifying the other person when you're not gonna make it, because it is important for both those boards to have a counselor present.
Yep. Thanks, Dana. Real Estate Advisory Committee, currently myself and Councilor Fury.
You're good at volunteering other people, aren't you?
According to some. I think Andy and I will go ahead and stay on that. It's a pretty limited commitment. I don't think we've met in a number of years. Yeah. Resort Tax Advisory Committee, Andy?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your work on that. Tree Advisory Committee, Rebecca, I imagine.
I really want to be on that one, Mr. Mayor.
The Tree Advisory?
Yeah, I'd like to see. How often do you meet?
It's not very common, maybe.
I'll take it.
Okay, like maybe. It's actually really fun. You just walk around the streets and they all decide what to plant, and you learn a lot about trees and why they do it.
Rebecca, would you like to keep that post?
I do like it.
Okay, are you okay with that, Giuseppe?
We can have it.
You can be an alternate. And then finally, Whitefish Lake Institute, currently myself and Councilor Fury, who serves as the board president, happy to stay on that as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay on. I actually termed out, like, I think a couple of terms ago, but they keep extending how
that's
many
what they do
terms you
for
can
me.
do it. So, yeah, but I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
So I think I can do it for life now.
Any additional comments on board and committee appointments? Not seeing any. We'll start with councilor comments. Andy, would you like to start tonight?
Yeah, Happy New Year. Glad to be back. A little uncomfortable possibly during public comment tonight, but other than that, it's always good to be back. I'm honored that, one, the community puts their trust in me, and I'm more than honored that I get to serve with all of you. I think we're a great council, and I think we've grown well together, and I think we'll continue to do that in the 4 years to come, and 2 years for some of us possibly only. But yeah, and to staff, same. So anyway, we're a great team, and let's keep up the good work, even though we just heard earlier that we don't really do anything. So there you go.
Thanks, Andy. Congrats on your win. Rebecca?
Yep, the first one is for Z. I know it's hard to speak publicly, but sometimes when you're listening, you have to really listen on another level, and I sincerely appreciate how much she cares about civil rights. So, anyways, I just wanted to say that. Jan once again brought up the deer management plan. I was really happy she didn't share the picture of the deers in her yard doing certain things. But I was wondering if we were moving that forward, just so that she doesn't have to show up again for a little bit.
Yeah, so that is a city council goal. Chief Kelch and I, we have the different plans that we've looked at. We'd sent them to council for some feedback. We will schedule a work session. Our plan is to schedule a work session this spring, but you are back-to-back growth policy update for a couple months. So March, April timeframe, we plan to bring that forward to you to review.
Okay, and we have seen the models from other cities in Montana. Chief Kelch showed us those earlier. She also brought up the dark skies with the LED lights, string lights. Is there any way that we could look at that?
So that would take an amendment to our current dark skies code. Those individual lights don't meet the threshold of needing to be completely covered. And we don't, and our code is not, did not anticipate string lights, and so that's not something that we look at the cumulative effect of string lights. Each individual light bulb and that's wattage is what triggers whether or not something has to be fully shielded or not. So it's going to take an amendment of that ordinance in order for us to enforce against string lights, which would be a big change because lots of people have them. So,
Do you want the council to give you the okay to do that, or how do we go ahead with this if we decide that Jan's got a good point?
We would have to have 4 city councilors agree on having staff review the dark skies ordinance.
And I agree with you, Rebecca. I mean, you walk through several neighborhoods in town. Creekwood's a great example where it's quite frankly obnoxious. And I think, you know, like any policy we have that sits on the shelf for 20 plus years, it's time to maybe take another look at it and a possible refresh.
Okay, so that's 2 of us.
Yeah, I would
Well, I
support,
don't-
I would support that, and I brought up a couple meetings ago about external light from a property coming from an internal spot. There is an example of that. That's a house on the lake, and those lights are on 24/7. Can't see them during the daytime. But that's what we're seeing coming out of houses right now, and that, I'm sorry, is not dark skies. So, yeah, I'd support that, yeah.
I would as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and Ben's okay, and
We have 4
Steve?
counselors. Yep.
Okay,
Just
so
to
Dave?
just to give you guys like a little bit of just an idea of when this could come forward. Right now, we have to get the growth policy done, the zoning code updated. So we'll put it on the to-do list, but I don't think that it can be a priority of our staff at this time.
Yep.
But
Well-
it will be on the list.
That's fine as long as she doesn't have to keep coming back. Toby brought up traffic light at Baker and 13th again. Nobody wants to talk about that?
With MDT, you know, there's already plans that, you know, that we have with MDT. I can let Craig talk about it. I know that a letter was sent trying to urge MDT to work with us on some of the things outside of Spokane Avenue for the downtown highway master plan, the downtown
Yeah,
plan. Go
actually, I
ahead,
still
Craig.
need a signature on that letter, but yeah, it was one of the things we talked about at the council retreat. I mean, talking probably about $1 million project to put a traffic signal in there. So we've very much relied on the Department of Transportation to work with us on sort of a global solution to everything Spokane, Baker, 13th, 2nd related. But I mean, if we want to call that out as a separate project and budget for it, it's definitely something we can talk about, you know, during the upcoming budget season.
Okay, so that's our timeline. We'll discuss it at our budget hearings. Okay, so he doesn't have to keep coming back about that. And then what about any interest in painting signal boxes?
You know, if we had an artist approach us with a proposal, then I think we could consider it. But at this point, to my knowledge, we haven't had anybody. There's also just the maintenance, and they aren't our boxes. They're Flathead Electrics.
Yeah, they're actually MDT.
Or
They're,
MDT,
yeah,
my
they're,
bad, sorry.
They're the traffic signal control boxes. I will tell you that Heart of Whitefish is very interested in that, and I believe Chris Schustrom has been working with that artist to come up with a proposal to bring to City Council, and then obviously we'd have to work with MDT on it to get approval. But the precedent's been set across the state for MDT allowing it, so that is something we're working on.
It's progressing to something.
Just something I want to add quick. I was at a meeting in the city buildings, and they actually wrap theirs. So the artist designs it, they wrap it, so if it gets vandalized, they can rewrap it.
Oh, wow.
It's quicker and easier than painting it. So they take a piece of digital art and then wrap it. Just something to think about.
Okay,
Yeah, and-
EV
and that's the
charging,
company
is there
that-
anything we need to say about EV charging? No, okay, okay, we already covered the O'Shaughnessy status. Richard brought up e-bikes policy, that's in play, because Giuseppe brought that up earlier. I just wanted to give Rhonda a shout out because she started the Nordic Club. I think that's really cool, her and her husband. And then Mary Beth Moran brought up Habitat building the depot townhomes, and it sounds like the land trust was unaware of that, and I'm just wondering, were you staff aware of this, or is this brand new, or what do we do about that?
Yeah, so Mary Beth and I had talked about it in the past before when we were talking to Housing Whitefish about becoming a developer, and they said, and at first their response was, those are already designed. We have specific design standards that we have because we work with volunteers. They like specific specs and all of that, so it's simple for them to do. Since that time, though, they've obviously taken a dive into the design, the current design and the architectural drawings and all of that. And so it does sound like they've come up with a similar design to what was approved that would be more cost effective. I'm aware that she has not spoke to Daniel yet about that, that she meets with him later this month based on his availability. So, we do not have an agreement with Housing Whitefish. I would like to see, I think council could give direction for us to issue an RFP to get proposals. Don't laugh, just happy. We didn't have interest from them originally. You could go through that process. I told you so, I know. But you could go through that process because at this point, if you have two interested parties, it's probably appropriate. I do think Habitat will probably come up on top given the cost of construction with volunteers, as long as you're okay with the design changes that they're proposing. Also, can probably get it done maybe more quickly just because they're ready to go and they can house the people. They don't have to get financing, or at least the financing they do get, they already have those lines. They also have the program for homeowners. The interest rate that they get on a mortgage loan through the state is so much lower that to find qualified buyers is going to be much easier for Habitat. That said, I think we could go and issue an RFP and have them both respond with a more formal presentation. We're still working with the Housing Authority regarding the lien on the property, though we believe that we can get that removed at this point. It just might take a court process with Ms. Collins and her attorneys and stuff like that, but that I don't think will be a problem. It just takes a little time. But
It seems like this might be a more global issue than something that we can solve right now.
Yeah.
And given the time, can we move on, please?
Well, do you want to just complete this and get an RFP started? And then I'll be all done.
Let's wait on a discussion regarding an RFP to another meeting, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
I think it's too complicated. Yep. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yep.
Ben?
Yeah, I also wanted to say thanks. It's been wonderful working with you guys the last 6 years, and I'm sure it will continue to be wonderful working with you for another 4. And thank you to the citizens who supported me being here. As Kim said, democracy is alive and well in City Hall. I think that's awesome, frankly. As messy as it can be sometimes. I apologize for my rant earlier. I think I surprised myself with that one. But I just would say, as it relates to the medical billing, I think at some point, if we could visit our I don't know what it is, our billing practices, or how we forgive and who we charge and who we don't, as a separate issue from the rates. I feel like that would be a worthy discussion to help address a lot of my really fundamental concerns about how we operate that program. I did want to thank, we had a lot of really good public comment tonight. Thank you for Rebecca for going through all of that. A lot of good ideas there that I feel like warrant further conversation. I mean, just to go down the list, the deer plan, painting the signal boxes, Baker and 13th, the EV chargers, the e-bike regs, the O'Shaughnessy. These are all things I think definitely warrant further discussion, and I hope we continue to, in the dark sky. I hope we address all of those at a future meeting. And then, yeah, as it relates to the habitat, which I think was an important piece of comment this morning, or excuse me, this evening. Feels that way, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it'd be beneficial maybe to have a little bit of time to let staff and others discuss with our partners about how to react to this. It does, but I do think it's something we should take seriously. There may be some reasons to consider it, but I think we have a larger tent of people working on these issues, and I think we need to be discussing it with them as well. So I would say maybe let staff come back and give us a recommendation on an RFP or not, and maybe that's what we do, or maybe not. Anyways, hope everybody has a wonderful new year this year, and good to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Frank?
I'll just add my voice to the idea that the offer we had from Habitat and Iron Star this evening is one we need to fish or cut bait on. I think we can't do it tonight. We need to get this thing in a position. This is the first opportunity I've seen in how many years to maybe do something, and what we have to do is do something. So I think that's something that we need to put on our short list of some things to talk about. The other is somebody going to attend or give public comment at that planning board or the county commission tomorrow morning regarding that the approval of the permit for that horrendously violative construction project on the lake?
I mean, we just heard about it today. I mean, I have meetings scheduled. We were trying to plan to send somebody on the 14th when they start talking about the regulations. That is the same night as our open house here.
Okay.
So we got to figure out which of our planners isn't necessary for that to be able to go to that. Because, yeah, we have an open house with our consultants on our land use plan that same night. So, but I think maybe we'll try to get Lauren to go if we can.
So the answer is no.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I haven't even had a chance to look
I
at that
agree with you,
permit to
David.
see
I'm
what the
just-
changes are. It's tomorrow morning. I mean, I'm not sure. I have a
Likelihood
meeting
of
at
them
10,
listening
so.
is not high. I get it. Okay, thanks. And that's all I've got in terms of things this evening. I thought it was interesting, however, that everybody came with their New Year's resolutions for the council. And that's kind of what we got for this evening. And democracy is live and well. Thanks.
Thanks, Frank. Steve?
Thanks. Just want to say Happy New Year's to everyone. Happy New Year, however you say that. Can't remember anymore. It's been so long tonight. But I also want to welcome back the 3 incumbent counselors. You did some hard work to get yourselves back here, and as you know, we've got some hard work to do in this upcoming year. And I do agree with everyone that democracy is alive and well. And when we come into these chambers, I think it's also important that we remember that these chambers are a little bit different than standing on the street corner. The things that we say there are quite different from what we should be saying in here. And they can be and they should be. So with that, I also just want to give one final shout out to the Glacier Nordic Club, because I love cross-country skiing, and I'm sad that I'm not able to do it at 3,000 feet anymore.
Thanks, Steve. Giuseppe?
Yes, I marry all of your comments, so I won't repeat them, but for one, I'd like to address Mrs. Bonnie Zipnik's behavior tonight. I respect the right of the public to comment, even when criticism is pointed. However, presenting imagery that equates our police officers with hate groups crosses a line. That kind of visual accusation is disrespectful, misleading, and harmful. Doesn't do any good to our community. I will not accept further verbal or graphical abuse under the guise of public comment, Mr. Mayor and colleagues.
Thank you, Giuseppe. I have just two quick items. Just a reminder, our next meeting is Tuesday, January 20th, Monday being a holiday. And I'd like to give a big shout out and congratulations to Scott Alexander, who recently retired this past month. Long term of service as a Whitefish Fire Department employee, paramedic, et cetera, and hope to see him more up on Big Mountain now. So, thanks everyone. Any further from staff?
This evening.
We are adjourned. Thank you.